I feel like I'm on a real show with that intro. Like some kind of parallel universe Tonight Show or something. And I guess there's going to be a bunch of openings for shows like the Tonight Show coming up fairly soon. Like I said the other day, the Ed Sullivan Theater, which hosted Letterman and for the next year Colbert, is one of the great New York City theaters that has been held hostage, quote unquote, by CBS since the beginning of Letterman. And Ed Sullivan, I mean, so the Beatles played the Ed Sullivan Theater. That's why it's named the Ed Sullivan Theater. And the point of the matter is, it looks like it's going to be freed up for the first time, I want to say in 30 years, like before Letterman and before this guy. Fantastic news about the Ed Sullivan Theater, which is or was kept freezing cold by David Letterman to the point where I don't even know why I'm talking about this, but he kept the studio so cold, and he was such a total alcoholic, David Letterman. My friend, my great friend Dave Hansen, who wrote for both Letterman and Leno, told me that the greatest day of his life was getting fired by David Letterman, and then literally a week later, the best day of his life getting hired by Jay Leno. Um, the difference between the two, he said, was night and day. Just talking about late night talk show hosts that it's been in the news lately. Um, Anyway, welcome to the show. I have no idea. We got Dr. Drew coming on in a few minutes. He's running a little late, doing probably saving lives and or doing a heart transplant on the 101. He's got the most fascinating life of any man I've ever known. I don't know where he finds the time to do all this. What he does, which we'll get into, what he does and what he has done and what his family does. Um, he is to me, I mean, he's a friend, and we talk all the time privately, and I've known him for a long time. But he's like a rock star, and I don't mean that in a pop culture way. I mean that in a medical way, in an addiction, dealing with addiction way, and we're going to get into that as an addictionologist. And some people know that I'm a licensed drug counselor as well. So even way before these shows, Drew and I had a relationship dealing with various people in the addiction community, which we'll get into. I'll give you an introduction to Drew before he gets here because he's wrapping up his own show, and then he's going to come over, hopefully, bringing his entire 2.3 million person audience with him. But before we get into that, I just want to talk briefly about our sponsor, which is Biltong USA. Biltong USA, this is something that I wasn't hip to, which is Biltong. And it's run by a guy named Anton out of Texas, who's a righteous dude, totally patriotic guy, homeschooling his kids, religious guy. He contacted me. He's obviously doing other podcasts. I guess he saw me with Viva, and we became friends through that. And he's turned me on to this, keeps sending it to me, and I keep eating it. The more he keeps sending me, the more I'm going to eat. So the guy's got to knock it off somehow. But Biltong USA, and this is how it comes in these packages, sealed with an ice pack. You don't have to get all of these. I kind of like the 8-ounce Angus. Here's an empty package, of course, because I've already eaten the stuff, waiting for another delivery. It comes in an 8-ounce package, 100% pure beef. And there's various kinds on the website if you go there. And there's various desserts, which I keep saying. So the guy eventually, Anton, will send me some of the freaking desserts. Anyway, if you do order it, which I highly recommend, the Angus, uh, use Mark G as a code in caps, and you get 10% off from Biltong USA. That being said, I mean, it is a weird product. It is an air-dried cured meat from South Africa, as many of you know, but it's also in Malawi, Botswana, Lesotho, South Africa, and various types of meat are used. This is sliced or really sliced thin beef biltong, which tastes like filet mignon. The second day, become a YouTube member like this guy did because he knows what's going on. This is some cat from Burbank. Black peppers in there, vinegary, kind of light vinegar taste, coriander, salt. Great for snacking. I was just camping in the woods. We took it with us. We were in a tent with a lightning storm on the last night. I thought we were going to die. up in the mountains, and the place never rains, nothing. All of a sudden, in the middle of the night, lightning bolts start coming out of the sky, and thunder, not the clappy kind of thunder, but the rolling thunder. And then I thought, well, how long could this last? And I looked on my phone and it said another 2 hours. But that being said, we survived on biltong in the tent, which was really nice. The meat is preserved, curing it with salt, brine, vinegar, as well as salt with potassium nitrate. Potassium nitrate kills whatever the hell bad is in there. And this stuff is so healthy that everybody's approved this thing. Even RFK Jr. has approved this, who apparently bought a home in Georgetown and is there by himself, ladies. So you may want to take a look at that. Anyway, it's made during the colder winter when the risk of bacterial growth and mold would be at a minimum. Recipes require the meat to be marinated in a vinegar solution. Grape vinegar is traditional, but balsamic and cider also work very well. This guy with his kids down in Texas has started the American dream, and that's kind of why I'm into this guy. Because he literally picked up and left South Africa, like many others have recently, to move to, I think it's Prairie, Texas, wherever that is. My Texas friends can tell me. Roanoke, Texas. Okay, and started this family business, and they all have to work together to make this stuff. So if you're interested, try it. I think you'll like it. If you don't like it afterwards, you don't have to try it again. But I highly recommend you try Biltong USA and see what you make of it. Comment down below. Some people have already bought it, loved it, and you subscribe to that and subscribe to the channel, which would be really more in a long range helpful for us here at the channel. Since it's new, I have no idea what we're doing. Don't forget Mercury's in retrograde. I can only say that because it is, and people who respect Mercury in retrograde know that can lead to contract problems, computer problems, car repair problems, and all kinds of personal communication problems with your significant other. I'm sorry if you don't believe it, but I've been anecdotally exposed to it for many, many years, and I don't know how it works. I don't know why it works. I can only report back to you that people who know about Mercury in retrograde, which this turn is lasting until August 11th, which is a long run. So there's that. Okay, Biltong. We're done with Biltong. I just want to talk about this movie I watched last night, which is, I've seen it before. It's one of my favorite films of all time. And I always start crying at the end of this movie. And it's called For the Love of the Game with Kevin Costner and Kelly Preston. You could see the box here. And I haven't watched it in a long time. And it's a really perfect little gem of a movie based on a book. Oddly enough, the director is Sam Raimi from Spider-Man and all the Evil Dead stuff. And it's kind of like the perfect baseball movie of all time. There's other baseball movies I love, obviously, The Natural, Field of Dreams, and 8 Men Out by John Sayles. Bull Durham by Ron Shelton, of course, is a great movie. Also with Kevin Costner, Field of Dreams. Phil Alden Robinson, 8 Men Out, John Sayles directed that with a bunch of other people in it. But this thing is a one-off by Sam Raimi, and he has made one of the most perfect romantic baseball movies that I've ever seen in my life. But the baseball stuff is so perfectly inside the game that it really is a wonder to watch how deep this guy goes with subtleties of the game. For people that don't know, Kevin Costner is like Clayton Kershaw. He's at the last year of his career. He's pitched 19 years for the Tigers. They're in last place. They're playing the Yankees. The movie is filmed at Yankee Stadium, the old Yankee Stadium, not the new Yankee Stadium. And he goes out and pitches a perfecto. And the Scottish, what's his face, who we talked about last week, the old Scottish actor Brian Cox, plays the owner of the team, and he tells him before that he sold the team because the game's changing. He wants out. His kids don't want to be involved in baseball. But there is this romance with Kelly Preston all through the movie. And she's moving to England. She's an editor for Elle magazine. She's got a job. It's his love of the game that stands between the two of them. But we see here's the point of the thing. The structure, which is based on a book, the structure of the film is he's pitching a perfect game, and in between innings, we flash back to his life and his actual home movies of Kevin Costner as a kid, throwing a baseball with his dad. And we go through this entire romance in his head while he's on the mound. So the game itself, there's only one game in the movie, and it starts right at the beginning of the movie. And the kicker, the key, the emotional string for the movie for me is the announcer. And the announcer, for people who don't know, is Vince Scully. And the producer, or Sam Raimi, had the presence of mind to hire Vince Scully to call this game like he did in 1956 with Don Larson in Yankee Stadium pitching the perfecto against the Dodgers, who Vince Scully was announcing for, and he announced that perfecto. He also announced the perfecto of Koufax and no hitters galore with Fernando Valenzuela and Kershaw's no hitter. But it sounds so authentic because of Vince Scully. And I get choked up when I hear Vince Scully because he has been the voice in my head, in my life, for some of the greatest sports moments of all time. And people know what I'm talking about, the Gibson home run, the throw your sombrero to the sky when Fernando pitched the no-hitter. But people across the spectrum, respect and understand Vince Scully, one of the great announcers of all time. And it makes the movie completely honest and completely real. And Costner used to pitch. And you've seen him in other movies. He's obviously a catcher in Bull Durham. But there's footage of him pitching, and he looks like a pitcher. He acts like a pitcher, throws like a pitcher because he was a pitcher. And it's hard to fake that. I talked to Thomas Jane about playing Mickey Mantle in '61, the Billy Crystal movie. And he did it with this, what's his name? The Scientologist who was in Saving Private Ryan, the sniper, Barry, what's his face, who's playing Roger Maris. Thomas Jane had to be a switch hitter, so he goes and hires Reggie Smith, the former batting coach, and also a outfielder for the L.A. Dodgers, and he goes to see him in the cage every freaking day for months to get not just the swing from both sides of the plate, but to mimic the swing of Mickey Mantle. I mean, that's going the extra mile, and that's reflected in '61, which is another great baseball movie. Why I'm onto this is because the Dodgers are losing like dogs every single night, and I'm losing my mind. I think we've lost 14 out of 18 or some incredible thing. They're freaking free fall. But that's a story for another day. But I did want to promote this film, which the budget of which was $50 million. So it lost money. I think it grossed 46 worldwide. Obviously was not a box office winner, but nevertheless, a little gem that is a perfect romance / baseball movie that Sam Raimi, one of the great underrated directors of all time, somehow decided to turn this book into a movie. Female screenwriter I've never heard of. Anyway, I highly recommend it in the summer if you're losing your mind. Costner in a baseball movie, you can't go wrong. Okay, that being said, let me see what we got going on here. 314, for the love of the game. Yeah, 8 Man Out is also pretty good. We got the Biltong. Okay, let me see. I don't know if Dr. Drew's here or not, but I just want to talk a little bit about Dr. Drew because just to give you a little biography of who this guy is. Dr. Drew was born September 4th, 1958, Pasadena, California, where he still lives, oddly enough. I mean, who the hell lives where they were born? Being the son of a doctor, Drew often went on house calls with his father when he was just a young kid, created a big influence on him and his decision to become a doctor. He attended Polytechnic High School, I think, which is in Pasadena, where he was an active football player and a dedicated class president. So he had political aspirations back then. He took up biology, graduated from Amherst College, which I believe is in New Hampshire somewhere, after finishing, or Massachusetts. It might be Massachusetts, I'm not sure. After finishing college, he returned to California, studied at the University of Southern California Medicine. He was appointed chief resident doctor at Huntington Memorial Hospital, which is one of the great hospitals here in the whatever area this is, Cedars-Sinai and Huntington, and also St. Joseph's in Santa Monica. But we'll talk about that when he gets on. He's a board-certified internist, and an addiction medicine specialist. He holds classes at Keck School of Medicine. I don't know if he still does that. He has his own clinic in Pasadena. I don't know if he still does that. He does the rounds, or he did the rounds at Los Encinas Hospital, which was kind of an addiction recovery center hospital for many years. He's married to his wife, Susan, who is into astrology, I could safely say, and knows that Mercury's in retrograde as I speak. His wife, Susan, knows Mercury's in retrograde. Dr. Drew will mock it because of his science background, and I'm sure his wife is a strong advocate of Mercury being in retrograde. He's got these triplets, and all three of them are triplets together. And there's Douglas, Jordan, and Paulina, which is kind of interesting that you'd have three at a time. And I didn't know you could have different gender triplets. Maybe I'm an idiot, but he'll explain that to me. Plays with the children, reads at the pool, talented playing the piano. I did not know that. And we're going to get into his baritone singing career right about now, because I have a piece of video I want to show you. Please welcome the host of Midday Live, heard weekdays noon to 3 on the home of the Kings, Talk Radio 790 KABC, Dr. Drew Pinsky. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, all the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Land of the free and the home of the brave. Wow. Oh my God. I had no idea you had chops like that, Drew.
Played the whole thing.
What?
whole
Well,
thing.
I'm a patriotic. We're a patriotic channel. Of course, they played the whole thing. I'm not going to interrupt the national anthem. It's bad karma. When was that? Was that Dieter Rule on organ?
It is Dieter. How did you know Dieter?
Because I'm a psycho who knows stupid shit like that.
He was. I worked with Dieter. Did a couple more Kings games. I sang a couple times at Dodger Stadium, and Dieter's over there too.
Right.
And God bless him that he's the organist. And yeah, I sung opera for a few years when I was like a lot younger, and I thought, oh, I'm going to go to West Germany. I'm going to come out. And thankfully, I just dispossessed myself of that crazy idea. But I kept kind of training through medical school, and so now I get sold at auctions and do national anthems, stuff like that. And I did them. And when the Masked Singer came on, I went like, "Why are you not putting me on the Masked Singer? That is silly that you don't put me there." So I went there.
Wow. I mean, that was, you really have a deep, rich baritone voice.
Oh, God bless you. I used to have a very good instrument. I really did.
Right.
And the aging process has not been kind to my cords at all.
And other parts of your body, which
anything, nothing. It's not
nothing is working.
Everything. God bless.
Everything's falling apart.
Yes.
But so far, so good. Knock on wood, right? You feel all right?
I
you
mean,
look good.
A lot to be grateful for, but still I could complain.
You could complain because of the
Let's
partial.
just switch this from What's Up to Alta Cocker show. Let's just Alta Cockers complain.
Today's sponsor is Narcan, by the way. Ask for it by name at your local pharmacy.
Good.
Well, where should we start? We got so much crap we could talk about. I wanted to go back and find out, first of all, about your high school career. I didn't know, what is the deal with Polytechnic High School? You played football over there? Did you play baseball there? Where is that, in Pasadena, Drew?
So it's across the street from Caltech. It used to be, it was a school essentially designed to sort of educate the professors from Caltech's kids.
Right.
And I had tons of those guys in my senior class. And I mean, man, the genetics were obviously bleeding through. Competing with those guys was quite something. But it has become one of the outstanding schools in the country. So that's me no, dude. That is
that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
That's a celebrity Dodger game. Back when they used to play hardball.
Yeah. What, you mean the celebrity game was hardball?
Yeah.
Was Billy Crystal there, or?
Penny and what's her brother's name?
Gary Marshall.
Gary Marshall was there. I got to know him through that. He was wonderful. And Tony Danza was there pitching, and he threw heat, like seriously threw heat. So there's a lot of talent here and there. So.
Wow. Okay. So tell me about football. You played football at Polytech.
So look, Jesus, you're what? This is your life, right? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, look, I'm just working with your wife here. I mean, you could blame her but she is.
By the way, she wants me to text her the link to where we are, because you didn't give that to me, so I could. And Susan's like, "Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?" She's texting me right now.
Okay, well, it is live, and we are on YouTube, and she can.
So I'll just look for What's Up.
Yeah, What's Up with Lordbuckly. I mean,
okay.
I don't know what else to tell you. I'm like a Luddite. I'm like a Luddite with this stuff.
Okay, hold on.
You're much better than me.
No, she is a kind of a little mini genius at this stuff. Okay, hold on. Okay, so football, mind you, look, as Adam Corolla pointed out over and over again, he called my high school Little Lord Fauntleroy School for albino hemophiliacs. Okay?
That's funny. That's funny.
And so when I said, I played football and we nearly won, we were big players in the CIF and whatever. It was 8-man football back then, by the way, because we had 50 kids in the class who couldn't even field an 11-man team. But it was fun. It was important for me. I'll tell you what, so important. I just think sports are so key for kids for two reasons. One was there's a lot of aggression flying around when you're late adolescence, and it got all that out.
Yeah.
And early, I was a bench warmer, and I just bore down real hard and got good, and overcoming that, frankly, disability of not being a great athlete and becoming decent in a small and uncompetitive environment was important. It really was important. So
did your brain get in the way? Did your intellectual brain get in the way of sports? Did you overthink some of the sports?
No, I actually.
You know what I'm talking about, though, right?
Yeah, I do. I actually thought that that team you put up there right now was a bunch of smart dudes, and I always felt like we had that actually gave us an advantage.
Right.
That we could kind of.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was my sense of it at the time. But the big thing, aside from the education, which was great, and getting into great schools and stuff afterwards, but it gave you the opportunity to do everything. You could do sports, you could do theater, you could do music, you could do all these things. And unfortunately, kids, even at Polytechnic, where my kids went, even by the time they got there, it was harder and harder to do that kind of stuff.
Okay, so you did do theater there too, right?
I did. You going to show me that now?
No, I don't know. I don't know what I have. Look, I'm just trying to work with your wife here. But the reason I mentioned about the mental thing is because I played football in high school too. And at one point, the coach said to me, he's always trying to get me motivated. And I was almost like too smart for the motivation. And he said to me this is why I'm mentioning it to you. I was an offensive end, and whatever he was trying to motivate me to do, he said to me, Grobert, did you hear what that guy said about your mother? And he was making it up. And I said, no, coach, what did he say? And I said, how does he even know my mother? or something to that effect, Drew.
Yes, I
And
get it.
anyway, I overthought
Yeah.
the things in the sporting world regarding motivation.
I thankfully had a guy that didn't pull stuff like that, and I don't know. I think it's important for kids to have and to have an aggressive male. They just rough and tumble play, having an aggressive adult male that you respond to,
Right.
and this is the other thing. I saw this happen to my kids too, and their peers. For males, I think it's important. I really think this is important to put yourself in harm's way on behalf of your peers.
Explain that a little bit. What you mean by harm's way? Jumping off the roof of a building?
No, that's different. That is proving your genetic
because that's what
worth.
kids do. That's what kids do.
They do that too, but they do that for the girls, right? They want
Right.
to show that they have genetic sort of hand given to them. This is like military stuff. So on a foot, if somebody says, go tackle that 6'3" monster, it's your job here. We need you to hit that guy hard. And then, our middle linebacker will catch him after that, but you got to go do it. And it's going to be terrible. And you do it. You do it on behalf of your peers. Then you get your ass handed to you again. And that process is elevating. I watch males just carry themselves differently when they've done that.
Well, I had a therapist. I asked him how recovery worked, and one of the things he said, other than a higher power, was positive group peer pressure.
Well, right. That is absolutely true. And so, there probably not enough is made of, well, I mean, these days, I guess we're starting to make more of it again because of mass formation and all that stuff. But, the social context, a lot of, God, we just opened a big topic here, but
yeah,
a lot of human psychology was about one skull. Then they started realizing, oh, wait a minute, it's not just the brain, it's the brain and the autonomic nervous system. Oh, no, it's not that. It's the brain, autonomic system, and the body, and what's coming out of the body into the brain. And so they started saying, well, the brain is embedded in a body. And guess what? When you're doing therapy, you're embedded in a relationship, and that relationship has a back and forth to it that informs and changes and morphs the process of the person needing help. And that person needing help is embedded in a socio-historical context. So
right.
all this embeddedness is something people are looking at more clearly these days. However, it's gone super crazy. You'll love this. Psychology has become captured. A friend of mine.
What else is new?
Well, but this is really, I mean, I think
you mean DEI captured or just captured by?
Captured with ideology. I'm going to tell you in a second because I want to get the name of my colleague here exactly right. She's written a book called Can I Say That? It's coming out soon. Chloe Carmichael. She's a psychologist. And I did Tim Pool's show with her and a psychology student. And they were both reporting that psychology now is no longer about Kohut and Freud and interpersonal neurobiology. It's about it's about multiculturalism and being colonialized.
That's great.
You've been colonialized and oppressed. That's why you're unhappy. So everything needs to be seen through that prism. And no one can help you except somebody who's been in that position.
Oh, give me a break. Give me a break. Give me a break. I mean, let me ask about a book, that Listening with a Third Ear by Dr. Theodore Reich. What do you know about that book?
I don't know that book, but I have said forever. My dad was an old family practitioner. He said, your most important diagnostic instrument is your ear.
Right.
And I agree with that completely, that learning to listen deeply, like intently, focused on the other person. And by the way, this is also being lost in medical training because we used to have to do that when we were tired and run down and just a mess. And yet we learned to do it in spite of our whatever condition we were in or whatever distractions we had. But I would evolve that even further, and I suspect that's what's in this book, is I began listening with my whole body. Your entire body is an instrument of listening, and you'll hear things, smell things, feel things that are not you. But if you're intently engaged and attuned to another person, that person will transmit stuff to you. It's the oddest thing. Anybody who's done that
besides
kind of therapy,
body language you're talking about?
I'm saying I can't even explain what it is. The story I always tell, I think I've told you this one before, but it's sort of illustrative. It's a good example of this. was two things. One is because my patients would come in and lie their asses off, I learned not to listen so much to their words, but
excuse me, are you talking about the addictive patients or patients
yes,
in general?
I'm talking
No,
about
I just want to
patients.
delineate between the two.
Well,
Okay,
even the average patient will lie.
Does the average patient bullshit you about
a little bit? They're always. It's hard to be rigorously honest. It is. They're embarrassed.
I mean, is the 1 to 10 pain scale accurate?
Yeah, but it's not important. It's not the fifth vital sign, for God's sake.
No, but they were trying to push that for a long time.
Oh, don't even that you. Let me finish this topic because that's another gigantic story.
We got a lot to talk about.
I'm going to write down pain scale because I lived that. I can tell you, it was not just the Sackler family was duplicitous, but they weren't the cause of what we got into. The cause of what we got into was identical to the COVID story. Identical.
Well, just for those at home, the Sackler family pushed and promoted the pain medical 10 scale, right?
Yeah.
Drew, did they invent it or?
And I kicked out one of their sales reps one time because she came in and said, we have a non-addictive opiate. And I said, get out of here. Just scram.
She was talking about OxyContin.
She was talking about OxyContin.
At that time, yeah.
Get out of here. Don't even try me. Stop it.
Yeah.
So we'll get to the pain scale, but I was talking about listening. So two things. I learned to trust because I never, look, so my addict patients early in the game would bullshit. And I remember I have two stories that I tell that help you understand what this experience is like as a provider. One is I learned to trust whatever came out of my mouth. And so there was this one kid, I remember I liked him a lot, and he been in and out, multiple overdoses. And now his friend died. He probably, they were using together. His friend dies. He has a near death, like a really serious near death experience. He comes in, he's sitting on the floor in my office sobbing. Yeah, I should have had Narcan handy. There's a new one too. The Lamafine, I think is a longer acting one coming. Yeah.
But let me ask something. Why is everybody so angry after you give it to them?
They're in withdrawal. They're in acute opiate withdrawal, and so they don't like that. What's driving me crazy is other addicts are interfering with the intervention to save people's lives because you don't want them to be in withdrawal. Oh, give me a break. So, oh my gosh, I have so much to talk to you about. So this kid's crying, and he was in pain, and I felt bad for him, and I liked this kid, and I was scared for him because he is going to die. And I get it. I'm crying, and I'm sitting, I'm listening, and I hear what pain he's in. And what comes out of my mouth is, dude, you are so full of shit. I don't know what to do with you. And he stopped crying and he looked up at me, and I thought, oh my God, this kid's going to swing at me. What did I just say? Where did that come from? And he goes, I know. I don't know either anymore. Everything's bullshit. I don't even know I don't know what I'm feeling, what I'm not feeling. It's all bullshit. And I said, well, that's your condition, and I feel it. I'm attuned to it, and we started to work. We started to have work because I could see through the disease, the stuff. The other thing, in terms of learning to listen with your body, I had this one guy who was severely abused as a young child, and he would come in and every day and tell me about it. And when he came in the room, I started hearing the opening music sequence from Mad Men. I was like, well, that's weird. Why am I interesting? It's okay. I'll just kind of keep listening. See every day the Mad Men music, but it would always open with a little drum roll. And I'd hear it, and I was like, okay. And so as relationship developed, I went from not just hearing the music, but feeling like I was that shadowy character falling through the buildings. Wow. Like I felt like I was falling. I thought, wow, this is not something I've ever experienced. So this is something meaningful for him. So I'm going to stay with it. And then he comes in one day and music starts playing. I feel the baby. I feel the shadow falling. I'm falling. And then all of a sudden I turn into an infant and I'm falling through the buildings.
What?
It absolutely took my breath away. I was like, I stopped him. I said, I'm sorry, I'm having an experience and I suspect it's meaningful to you. May I share it with you? And he goes, well, by all means, I want to hear what you're feeling. And I described this whole thing to him. And he became enraged. How dare you, you and your psychobabble. You think you know what you're talking about. And he stormed out of the room. He's screaming at me.
Weird.
Came back the next day and sat down quietly and went, how did you know?
Wow.
How did you know? I'm always here, the baby's screaming, the baby's falling, the baby's. And I was like, it's you. I'm attuned to a part of you that was communicating to me. And we need to get at that and integrate that into your whole being, because now it's walled off somewhere and it's in trouble. It's in distress. And that was that. So we were able to work together. And that's what trauma therapy is all about. It's getting that reintegrated so they can tolerate
you've talked about this for a long time, that you believe that the bulk of addiction comes directly or indirectly from childhood trauma.
No. I say something very specific, two very specific things. One is, because you can be a truck driver and get strung out on meth. You know what I mean? That happens.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you could put somebody in a room and inject them with heroin as a prisoner and have them come out as an addict on Monday morning.
Well, everyone would be dependent. Not everybody would be an addict, right? Only 10%.
Dependent. Let me put it that. Okay, dependent.
But I say two things. One is, where am I going with this? I was asking about childhood trauma. Childhood trauma. I say two things. Childhood trauma is the rocket fuel for addiction.
Right.
If you have childhood trauma and a good genetic burden and you start young, it's going to be on. It's going to be serious. The other thing I would say
Thank
is,
you. Thank you.
The Mark Rubert story. And so
you read my biography.
And well, you're exposing mine today, so why not?
Okay.
And so the other thing I would say is, if you have bad enough addiction that you needed to come to our program in an inpatient psychiatric hospital, there was 100% probability of childhood trauma. I used to say, I was preparing a lecture, and this very fine psychiatrist named Dan Siegel, a good friend of mine, I was telling him what I was going to say. And I said, all of my patients always have childhood trauma. And he goes, don't say always. Don't say always. We never say always or never. Just don't say that. I go. So I got on the podium. I go, Dr. Siegel warned me not to say always as it pertains to these observations. So let me change my observation to, okay, 100% of my patients have childhood trauma. That's just the way it is.
No,
100%.
To be honest, unless they're lying to me, I mean, I've experienced people in recovery who claim to have not experienced childhood trauma, Drew.
Oh yeah,
in recovery, and came from very nice families.
They did not come to my program.
Right. I mean, this is one of my favorite Dr. Drew books, because in this one he talks about narcissism, which I think goes hand in hand, Drew, with your childhood trauma thing. In fact, I think you suggest that narcissism may be the result or the defense against childhood trauma.
Well, what we know that narcissism is both genetic and environment, and there are various sorts of childhood experiences, trauma amongst them. It's actually called a narcissistic injury when it happens at a young age, that can set up narcissistic traits, not necessarily narcissistic. We were really talking about narcissistic traits at that point, and they're common, and. What was your question about that? What I was saying was that what we built our case on and what our models were was that that becoming a celebrity was a bid to manage narcissistic injury.
Right.
That's what our research showed. But you still develop narcissistic traits. They had higher than average narcissistic traits and processes in celebrities. And the celebrityness, the status of celebrity, does not solve narcissistic problems.
Dude, I remember taking I took the narcissistic personality test, and I was trying to talk Drew into the fact that I am narcissistic. And he's saying, no, I know for a fact you're not. And I said, well, how do you know that? I didn't score high on the test, but I was, of course, as a hypochondriac, thinking that I had it. Then Drew said, well, I wouldn't be your friend if you had it.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
That was your answer.
I probably said it'd be hard to be your friend. It'd be hard to be your friend. I have plenty of friends that are narcissists, to be fair. Right. It's hard to be their friend.
Right.
But
here's a book you might want to look at also if you want to know about the history of rehabs.
Oh, yeah.
In this book, I describe, which is on Amazon, by the way, if anybody wants to look this up. I go into the American history of rehabs going back to the 1800s.
It's a great,
and also on book. Addiction and things that Drew and I have talked about for years, like the incredible high addiction level of Native Americans and Aborigines in Australia, based on a thesis in the book, which I didn't invent, but it suggests that the later your culture is exposed to alcohol, the higher the addiction level because of Darwinian weeding out of the
Yeah.
or survival of the fittest, Drew, if I'm in the ballpark here.
Well, so that's there's two competing sort of phenomenon. One is that it's not just alcohol, but distilled spirits.
Distilled spirits. Let's be
Yeah.
clear what distilled spirits are.
Yeah, like
that was
hard liquor.
translated from the Egyptian text by a guy named Braunschweig in the late 1400s, and that created distilled liquor,
Right.
which the Dutch used juniper berries to create gin, which led to Dutch courage, which led to super addiction because people were coming from 2 to 3% beer and wine to now 80% proof crack cocaine, alcohol. And that created literally a crack cocaine epidemic in Western Europe type situation with the creation of distilled spirits.
And the theory is that those with the addictive genetics now were prone to dying off because of alcohol. And yet the other part of this is the genes for addiction are highly preserved in human populations. And not only are they preserved, they seem to be amplified in very specific circumstances. So this is my favorite theory, that you see worsening genetic burden and more of it in populations that are isolated and then are repeatedly assaulted militarily, ideally genocidal assaults.
Interesting.
So Scotland, North American Indians in the South. In other words, so why does it persist? Why does it purify? Because people with this gene are better survivors in extreme circumstances, which is true. And so I used to mess around with that when I was lecturing large groups of addicts. I would say, if a bunch of Huns came over the hill here, what would you guys do? 85% of the room would say, I'd pick up a chair, I'd run at them. From a normie perspective, that is the weirdest thing to hear. When you hear a lot of
because anybody else would run away, you're saying.
You run away.
Right.
But the addict goes to the action. They're activated by it.
Well, it's true with paratroopers and Green Berets and firemen.
Fighter pilots, extreme athletes, you name it, there they are. Yep. And they're actually at their calmest during those situations. Their anxiety goes away. Short stops. They'll talk about things slowing down and they can see things that the rest of us are just in a jumble.
Well, people talk about addicts in a crisis too, how efficient they are.
They're wonderful.
Wonderful in a crisis. It's just breaking a shoelace will lead to mass murder.
But it is it's one of the reasons why I get so disturbed when people with addiction are vilified, stigmatized, because literally people with these genes literally are a more evolved form of the human in adversity. They just are.
Is it true that the older the culture, the less addiction there is, like Chinese and Jewish cultures being so old that they've already weeded out the addicts through death?
Yes. And
what's the rate of addiction? I think it's like 92% among Native Americans and Aborigines in Australia.
It's very high. It's in
the 90s.
I don't know that number, but I know it's a big burden. It's a big, particularly Cherokees and things. But in fact, I was up in North Dakota trying to help out there. They had a huge problem up there. Gosh, I've got so many. I'm having floods of thought.
Well, we're going to be all over. We're going to be all over the thing
here.
Yeah, it's going to be all over the map today because we've got so much shit to talk about. Tell me about.
You said. Hang on. You asked about the Jews and the Chinese.
Yes, go ahead.
So the Jews and Chinese, they still have a certain genetic burden for addiction, right? Mm-hmm. But it's different, and I will not. It's particularly the Han Chinese and the Ashkenazi Jews.
Yes.
Where you will see, it's the only time, and I don't ever tell them this because I don't want them to test anything, but I will tell you, sir, it is the only time you see addiction without alcoholism.
Oh, that's interesting. Very interesting. So they're addicted to other things.
Pills, stimulants,
opium,
you name it.
Hashish.
But they almost never have alcoholism.
My parents had a liquor cabinet that was there from the Stone Age. Nobody ever went in there. There was just cobwebs. I don't remember. My family was addicted to cake. if there was a rehab for cake,
food,
yeah,
sex,
food,
food and
yeah,
sex go
they
in
were
there for
all
sure.
obese. Yeah,
For sure. So, and the fact that it's kind of interesting. I never thought about it quite this way, but the fact that food and sex are in there, probably that's what had the adaptive advantages, out in the desert or something,
right.
in the when you were cast out or something. Somehow
Me
that,
or you too? You were cast out too. Don't try
yeah,
to get
yeah,
out of it.
all of us, we were all in the diaspora. Yeah, so there's something there, but
Yeah.
it's all about survivor. It's all about being a good survivor in adversity, and the fact that people develop this illness that comes with it, in a current society, to me and by the way, they're smarter. People with addiction are smarter. They're very rich human beings in terms of their
Because they need
emotion.
that smart to survive. It's almost like a woman. I believe women are smarter than men because they
Maybe,
need to be to survive, Drew, physically.
maybe, but it's definitely, I see it. I definitely see it. That's why I like working with addicts. They're so smart. They're so interesting. They're so rich as human beings. So,
Now, I forgot about this show. I haven't thought about your show in a long time,
mm,
Celebrity Rehab. Basically, because I had friends who were on there, people
mm,
that I know in the recovery community.
mhm.
It was an interesting time when you put on that show because it was a mixed bag of people, crediting you and other people
Yeah,
attacking you.
yeah.
I don't know if you may have PTSD even talking about it, but
Yeah, a little bit. So
I'm not kidding. I
yeah,
say
I'm
that
not
because
kidding either.
I remember what you went through.
It accomplished what we set out to do, was to destigmatize treatment. See,
Yeah.
what it finally happened, I was saying, no, we can't do that. We can't do. People were coming to me to do it, and I'm like, nah, I don't think so. And Bob Forrest came in my office one day without knowing that people had approached me about this, and he went, we were treating a lot. We didn't seek to treat celebrities, but we were so discreet. People would come to us. There's still many
Was this at
very,
Los Encinas or
yes,
Pasadena Recovery
Los
Center?
Encinas,
Los Encinas. Okay.
many high profile celebrities we treated that nobody knows that we treated.
Well,
And
W.C. Fields died there, didn't he?
he
That's
did.
right. Remember, he was looking through the big book, and his friend came in and said, "What are you reading that for?" And he goes, "Looking for loopholes."
That's really funny. No, that was pre-treatment days, but
Yeah,
they
yeah,
do a lot of
yeah.
TLC and stuff in those days. But he man, you get me off my topic. So Bob comes to my office one day and he sits down across from me and he goes, I am so disturbed by our patients being discussed in the press as being on a spa vacation or making excuses. He goes, they are sick and they work hard. We need to do a TV show where we show how sick they are and how hard they work. And I was like, Bob, how
So it
weird.
was Bob's idea, Drew?
Bob pushed me over the finish line. And he goes, after I just told him people had come to me, he goes, gotta do it. And he smashed his arm down and he stormed out of my room. And I thought, all right, I'll go back out and sniff around. And that's what led to it. We had a million other things we had to deal with, but we got there.
Right.
The biggest problem from my perspective was there were two things. One was there was still a lot of ambivalence about the 11th tradition. Like,
You're talking to the converted here. I had a problem with that myself.
Well, Bob and I went back into the history of where those traditions came from.
Yeah.
And it was Bill W.'s wife who really was the pushing it.
You're talking about Lois Wilson.
Yes.
The founder of Al-Anon.
And she was worried that it would be used as a marketing instrument. She did not, but apparently, Bob researched, near her death, she had switched completely and said, we need to be talking about it in the media because people need to understand about the miracle of recovery and they need to understand what addiction is.
Well, they used to have late night commercials, if you remember.
Yeah, well, that I wouldn't go after, but I wouldn't sign off on that.
It's like an 800 number.
That, like right now, we're discussing it on the media. This back then, 20 years ago, that was, people would judge that. People would go, no, you can't. It's media, you can't do it. And we decided that was a mistake, and that we were going to go with Lois Wilson's ideas at the end of her life, and that we needed to get it out there. It was too much stigma, too much secrecy, too much craziness. Yes, you shouldn't talk about your anonymous program you're in. But people should be very aware about what that is and what's available. It seems to me. It's funny, the first season, we were ambivalent about the 11th tradition, and we didn't mention meetings or 12-step almost at all the whole season.
Right.
And that was one of the big criticisms. Where's the 12-step? Where's the program? Oh, it's like, of course they went to meetings. That's the cornerstone of what we do. But, they criticize us for everything. But
Yeah,
to me,
it was a shit show.
The other thing that was the biggest problem was people did not understand what was happening with my peers on the opiate crisis. They didn't get it.
You've explained this to me before. Explain the lack of information that your peers have in this area, the lack of education, the lack of training, Drew.
Zero. Well, it's zero.
You told me it's zero. I always find this hard to believe that it's zero.
Yeah. I even, as I was working in a psych hospital, I was watching people haphazardly withdraw alcoholics. There was no discipline to even how they were doing the withdrawal. They were giving them Haldol and causing seizures. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, the way that went down was we had an opiate epidemic at the end of the 20th century, the beginning of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century.
Yeah.
The morphine sulfate had been isolated after the Civil War. The hypodermic needle had been invented, and this was a miracle. This was the first time in human history that those of us in the helping professions who wanted to reduce human misery could take away pain. It was miraculous. We did not know about the downside. And there were miracle cures, what do you call all those potions that were being, all of them had laudanum and morphine, all kinds of stuff in them, all over the counter. We were just handing it out because it made people feel better. So at the beginning of the 20th century.
Well, let's just back up for 1 second, because the post-Civil War era, there may have been 3 to 5 million morphine addicts who came out of that war and went home because of the mass distribution of morphine. So I just want to put that out there.
It was, at the time, there were two things happening that were sort of reducing the soldiers' use of morphine. One was they couldn't get enough of it. And the second thing is they were giving it to all the mothers and wives for their suffering back home.
Oh, wow.
So they strung out all the women also. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And
well, don't forget the flip side of giving biphetamine to the Nazis, so they could stay up for days fighting.
Well, the amphetamine part is insane. That came much later. I don't want to stick with the opiate story.
Right. Go ahead.
So in the meantime, heroin comes in, cough syrup for children. Methadone comes in, long-acting oral opiate, and the doctors become the main distributor of opioids. And the Harrison Narcotic Act, by my reading of history, imprisoned 20,000 physicians for being drug dealers, essentially. And that needed to stop. And doctors were forbidden from giving opiates to addicts. If you were going to give like a methadone, things like that.
The pendulum had swung so far the other way, is what you're saying.
Correct. Yeah. And that now fear of prescribing opiates, which got established at the Harrison Narcotic Act in the mid-teens of the earliest 20th century, persisted all the way into the 1960s.
Yeah.
In the 1960s, now we have people living with cancer longer, developing cancer pain, and being refused opiates. It was insane. Yeah. So a field moved into position, the pain management field, to manage cancer pain. And they were right in what they did. They did a wonderful job, but they looked around and went, God, we are such geniuses. Nobody should forget cancer pain. Nobody should ever have pain. And they considered themselves heroes, and they were going to eliminate pain in the United States. Number one. Right. Number two, at the same time, some clever attorneys in the 70s and 80s discovered that they could not just sue doctors, but imprison doctors for inadequate treatment of pain outside of malpractice. So direct charges, criminal actions for inadequate pain management. This was in Florida, North Carolina, and California. Wow. And when those started happening, we all froze. And we went, okay, we're not doing all medicine, all pain now goes to pain management because they're the heroes. They know what they're doing. I don't want to go to jail. Send it all there. They then did exactly what was the woman's name with the scarf during COVID?
Captain. She was a military captain.
Was she?
Yeah, I forgot her name now.
I can see her as clear as day. Anyway, she went around the country and did exactly the same thing that the pain management world had done to capture the management of all pain. They went around, they got the medical societies on board, they got the VA on board, they got the Department of Mental Health on board, they got all the regulators on board, all the professional societies on board, and they all championed pain is the fifth vital sign, more important than your pulse. Right. That was the pain scale you referenced earlier.
The pain scale I referenced.
And that if you didn't treat pain first and foremost and make them go from an unhappy scale to a happy scale with as many opioids as they want, because after all, pain is what the patient says it is, and pain control is what the patient says it is.
Did the Sackler salesman actually bring in that chart as part of their sales pitch, Drew?
I'm sure. They didn't need to. They didn't need to. It was all over us all the time.
Right. But it started somewhere. I mean, somebody put it up for the first time.
I think, at the VA. It started with the regulators.
Oh, the VA.
So having the control of the regulators and the professional societies forced us to comply with this. And then it was taught in the medical schools and the residencies. And you were considered some sort of, who was raising the cane about this, I was sanctioned by my hospital, by the Department of Mental Health, by the California board. Everybody was, you're a dinosaur. You're interested in patient suffering. In the meantime, my patients were being killed hand over fist. Jeff Conway, Mike Starr, killed by my peers. They never should have been given these opiates. They were pain-free off opiates. And every one of us that knew about the inappropriateness of giving opioids in chronic pain knew that opioids intensified pain and that the pain would go away quickly, or at least diminish dramatically, if you took them off the opioids. So every patient would come in on their pain scale. You know what they would say? Every chronic pain patient opiates, how on a scale of 10, what's your pain? 18, 20, every one of them, not 10. Drug addicts.
Well, can we talk about some of your patients who were on the show? You mentioned Jeff Conway.
Okay.
There are certain people in recovery, when we look at them and we know they're not going to make it. I think you know what I'm talking about.
I disagree. I've had many patients that I've had that feeling about who I've kicked out of treatment.
No.
Walked up to me 5 years later and shook my hand.
Yeah, no, I know, but we have a different perspective on it from inside that is not medical. It's just a hunch. You know, and when I first saw Jeff Conway, many people on the show I thought were going to make it, and most of them did.
Yep.
Conway, I did not think so. It was just my take on Conway. I mean, I know Stephen Adler. I mean, I know you dealt with Stephen and Tom Sizemore. Of course, I knew you dealt with. You even called me on occasion about Sizemore.
Yep.
All of these guys I know, and you know, a lot of them made it. Some of them. Daniel Baldwin passed through, if I recall.
Danny's doing great. He's doing amazing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. He's doing great now. But Conway, I thought was never going to. It was just my take on it for whatever it was. I just thought he was going to.
Well, he got put back, even though he had no pain when Bob and I were dealing with him. We followed these guys afterwards. And he was put back on opiates. He went back to his pain team. And of course, they say things to them like, I told you you're going to have to be on these the rest of your life. Why do you listen to those people that are trying to brainwash you? Adam Goldstein, DJ AM, that's exactly what happened to him. He was dead 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
Those were the words that were spoken to him. And Jeff got so many opiates, they had to put him in a nursing home to maintain the level of opioids they were giving him. This was insane. This guy does not have pain when he's off the opiates. And
I remember Seth Binzer also was a repeat customer. And was Andy Dick on the show, or was he came?
He did the Sober House thing.
Sober House, right? Yeah. Another guy who just can't seem to get it.
Oh, Andy's like, it's hard.
Right.
But I mean, it's so many of them are on, off, and never quite get it. I don't
know what Dennis Rodman's problem was. He seemed to be an observer more than someone who wanted to.
Dennis, I have the greatest story in the world about Dennis that did not, for some reason, get on TV. He was, we did spec scans on a lot of these guys, and I showed Dennis his, and he had severe alcohol brain damage. He had it.
Wow.
And I said, Dennis, this can come back, but at a certain point it won't. You've got to stop. I really I have a deep affection for Dennis Rodman, but at the beginning we were there's some friction. Yeah. And so he came in first group And it was a really intense group. And this group was like right away firing on all pistons, and people were sharing stuff. And Dennis was over here to my right, and he had a book. I don't remember what he was even reading. And he was holding it up to his face, and like his lips were moving because he was reading it the whole time. And at the end of the group, he's just still sitting there, and everyone leaves. And I go, Dennis, come on, man. These people all were bearing they had intent. They were emotional. They were showing, they want you to know them. They want you in this too. They want you to be a part of this group. And he looks at me and he goes, hey, we're going to have a relationship. We'll have one. We'll have one. He goes, but you got to understand one thing first. He goes, and he puts his hand up here and he goes, you got to understand this. Here's God. And then he lowered his hand about an inch and he goes, and here's professional athletes. You need to understand that. And they will be okay.
Wow.
I went, okay. I'm there, Dennis. I got you. All right.
Maybe some narcissism there, Dr. Drew.
Something. But I got to know his mom. I got to know, I met the daughter that he's now.
But you did have family day there, didn't you?
Yeah.
On the show.
He's got some neurobiological stuff that really gets in his way. And he's got alcoholism. He's got
alcoholism. Now, tell me what you saw on the streets of LA, because we haven't talked about this in a while. When you went out,
I go out all the time there. What I see is severe. I see 3 primary populations. I see drug addicts of all stripes everywhere. That's mostly who's there.
What percent out of 100%? What percent is, in your anecdotal opinion?
70, 80% in that zone.
Okay.
I mean, it's drug
this
addiction.
is highly debated by them. You know,
because they send, first of all, only social workers who are not trained to treat the most seriously neurobiologically altered humans on the planet. The people with bad enough addiction and mental illness that they lie down on the sidewalk. That is advanced medical psychiatric disease. They are not trained for that. It's the same as asking a physical therapist to do orthopedic surgery. They're wonderful at what they do. They are not trained for this.
Will giving them an apartment cure them, Drew?
Would it cure you? It does
not.
No,
I mean, I say that humorously because that's.
I think it'll kill them.
I think it'll kill them.
I've had several of these the do-gooders that are working hard on the apartments come to me on the DL and go, "We're having great results putting them into places, but once we get them there, it turns out we're not done." I go,
yeah, what a surprise.
Shocking. So having social workers in there doing all the work is a gigantic mistake, number one.
Yeah.
And then number 2, the assessments are done by like high school students with a clipboard, the equivalent of that. You have to be a psychiatrist to know how to do a psychiatric interview. You have to work with serious mental illness, because here's what they say. Well, you a drug addict? No. Okay. Thank you. Do you do drugs? No, come on. I don't do drugs. I have to actually go on the street with recovering addicts because they see what's going on and they can help blow through the bullshit with me. I remember I'm with a friend of mine, Anthony Brown is a great guy. He became a nurse, and then he became a nurse, director of nursing, and he's now out in Ohio building sober livings and working sort of Zoom care and stuff. And he was a bad stimulant addict and was trafficking drugs, was in jail multiple times. And I went out with him on the streets, and he goes, and I go, "What's going on here in this corner?" I couldn't quite see. He goes, "Well, these guys are all here because they're going to buy either cocaine or meth, because that woman has meth in her vagina." And I was like, "What? How do you know that?" He goes, I'm just telling you, that's what's going on here.
That's where she's keeping it.
And you have to know that. She's not going to tell you. You have to be able to. So anyway, 70%, mostly drug addiction, maybe 10, 15% chronic, schizophrenia, others chronic mental illnesses. But there's a third population out there, which is straight up sociopaths. Yeah. And their tents have all kinds of slogans all over them. Yeah. The hallmark of the sociopath is a backpack and a skateboard. Right. And you will see them at all the demonstrations and things like that. Yeah. And so that's a group that's kind of dangerous, I think. So because they're exploiting other people and things. And then the gangs run everything on the streets.
The gangs are now charging them rent. The gangs are now charging them rent
on the street
to live in these tents.
For the sidewalk. That's right.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And also, the gangs are providing them with meth and fentanyl also.
They don't have to, because the county does it. The county gives it to them. And
Usually the money's gone the first 3 or 4 days when they get after the first of the month when they
all
receive
right,
their
so they're all on
GR.
Social Security,
Yeah.
and they have to turn their Social Security checks over to the gangs.
Yeah.
That's who really gets it. The
Yeah.
drugs and the rigs, everything comes from the health department.
Yeah.
And I have a kid wrote a book. His name is Klickstein. He wrote a book called Crooked Smile. He's now 3 or 4 years out. And he's sober. He's in a car. The guy's great. And he told me in the last year when he would go out and they would give him all his drugs, they would pat him in the back and literally say to him, he said, once we get communism in place, this won't be a problem. You'll be fine. Let's just get you to, until we can get to communism, you're going to be good.
Right.
Can you imagine?
That's crazy.
That's who's working on the streets.
Well, they were giving out sample, and I think this was in Spokane at a street party. They were politicians were giving out clean cocaine, clean heroin, and clean some other meth, saying that way they won't be affected by fentanyl. They were giving the drugs out at the street fair, and they, as you know, they have vending machines with the drug tests and syringes. And now in the state of California, they now have roofie testing kits by law in every bar, and a cover that goes on your drink so that you are not roofied by another customer, ignoring the fact that it may indeed be the bartender, Drew.
Perfect. Good times.
Yeah. Now, I remember at the beginning, you were not exactly aligned with the so-called Suboxone movement, and then over time, you've kind of altered your position on this, if I'm correct. If not, let me know.
I am.
Or where you are now. I don't know.
I've evolved.
Evolved.
I worry about the people who present themselves as addiction experts and hand out Suboxone. Really do not know addiction at all.
Explain Suboxone to the audience, because we're talking in the weeds here.
Is a kappa agonist. It hits the opioid system in an entirely different way, and as such seems to be very good for chronic pain. And for whatever reason, people don't want to take it, but it's good for chronic pain. So there's a population that should get it. That's a new thought for me. That's new, and I'm convinced of that.
Okay.
And it helps people detox from opiates. It gives them a smooth detox over a week or so. The problem is with the maintenance of Suboxone, which people find they can get down to usually a very low dose, so it's having less effect on them.
Like
so
1 milligram or half a milligram?
If you're lucky, it's more like 4 to 8 milligrams.
4 to 8, okay.
Yeah. Again,
I mean, I've seen as high as 32 for some.
Well, that not as high. Oh, I've seen a lot higher than that. But
really,
the problem is the doctors are giving that out and saying, "Stay here. You're never going to get off this. Just stay right here."
Right. That's
and at that dose, you're still intoxicated. You're still impaired, and that's making people chronically ill. Now, when people tell me I can't get down below a milligram, because the withdrawal from Suboxone is miserable. It's a 2-week misery. It's not good. It's worse than heroin.
The whole procedure is about 2 weeks, right?
If you do it as a detox, yes.
Yeah.
The people that are on it, when they're on it for a long period of time, when you get and you get them down to a very low dose, they get horrible withdrawal. No matter what.
Yeah.
And it's lasts about 2 weeks, and it's miserable. It's really terrible. And a lot of people will go through it. They want to get off. They want to be completely clean, and they will do it. But when you go from 2 to 1 to 0, it's not good. Yeah. And the problem I have with that, here's the problem I have with that. Here are the words that never came out of my mouth. I treated thousands of heroin addicts. How am I going to get these guys off heroin? I don't know how I'm going to do it. It was never an issue. We did it. We had ways. We had various ways of going at the withdrawal syndrome. Never a problem. 3 to 5 days, mild flu-like syndrome. That's it. So this whole idea that they're having cravings. You got to get them on Suboxone. That's an insane thing. Now there is also a belief that if you don't put them on something like Suboxone, they will use an overdose. They will necessarily go back to their previous dose. They will be no longer tolerant to the drug, and they'll overdose quickly. I'm not convinced that's true. I think that maybe for some people, and you have to pick your patients carefully for whom you're going to go do an abstinence-based treatment program, but I just see no evidence that that's true. I just don't know that that's true. And I've literally had addiction experts tell me there is no such thing as opioid abstinence. No such thing.
Really? That's interesting.
No, does not exist in nature. And I introduced them to Bob Forrest and Mark Rubert and Shelley Sprague. And those are the guys that say to me in no uncertain terms, they would be dead if they were given Suboxone. They would have kept going.
Of course.
And
And
I
well,
think
we
that's
know
true.
so many people who have been on it. Look, basically the situation here was, people would use and then go on it, then use
Yep.
and then go on
Yep.
it. It
That's right.
became
That's
this
true.
revolving abusive door
Yep.
where the doctors had to have a special Suboxone license, and most of the mainstream doctors did not want to be involved with that licensing procedure, nor did they want to be involved with the revolving door that I'm
Well,
describing,
no,
Drew, right?
you should know that the doctors that were licensed that had the revolving door considered that a success. And they would say,
I know.
and they would say to me literally, well, they're alive. Like,
They're
I
alive.
don't know.
Yeah.
I want them alive, but at what cost is what we're got to figure out here. And it always needs to be the right treatment for the right patient.
I want to switch to what
but
RFK's plan.
you're giving
Go
me
ahead.
these Rorschach sort of tests here with these topics that are big.
No,
But the
I know they're
line
big.
is, bottom line is, I've softened on Suboxone. There are certain
Right.
circumstances where I'm clear it should be used. There are circumstances where it might be used, but I don't like the over prescribing of everybody gets a Suboxone is an insane approach to any one thing for any illness in all situations.
Well, there was a period of time where it was being given out like candy in the rehabs here in Southern California. I mean, everybody was coming in getting Suboxone.
Yes.
And there was a black market in Suboxone.
I actually refused to use it on my unit. And the reason one of the reasons I refused it was whenever there was an opiate or a benzodiazepine on the unit, I couldn't run the unit. He's getting Valium. Why can't I get Valium? He gets Suboxone. I need that. Drug addicts, all the splitting and this, they're early in treatment. They're raw. They're of course going to say, he's got it. Why I should have it too.
I predicted to you that at one point in one conversation that this fentanyl crisis would have an upside by weeding out almost like a scared straight, because no one is able to discern whether street drugs or prescription drugs have fentanyl in them. And I think we're reaching a tipping point now, Drew, where this fentanyl has become so pervasive, and people at home don't realize they now make prescription drugs out of fentanyl with a phony prescription bottle, with a phony prescription on it, because people were wary of buying prescription drugs from people on the street without seeing the bottle. So the drug dealers have now created actually phony prescription bottles with John Doe prescriptions on them of fentanyl. And so many people have overdosed that I think this may be becoming a scared straight society in a good way, Drew.
I hope you're right. I think adolescents kind of got that message because they were buying stuff off Snapchat and stuff and dying.
Yeah.
And adolescents learn from their peers very quickly. One of those stories goes all over the place. So that's a good thing. I mean, it's a bad thing that had a good effect.
Right.
I don't know. There's a lot of preference for fentanyl now,
I know, but it's really a Russian roulette situation, because you don't know the actual strength of the fentanyl you're getting, because it's mixed in a vat and it clumps up. And it could be like a powerful little portion in the vat or a weak portion. It's clearly a Russian roulette scenario. It's not a pure drug, unless you're using fentanyl patches. I'll take that back. Well, which is not that easy to get your hands on.
I had my patients would cut those open and suck on them.
And what about, remember the lollipops that they were giving out fentanyl lollipops?
Oh,
okay, let me just switch to HHS for a second while I have you here with RFK's new, which we have not heard yet, what his addiction plans are going to be. What are you hearing, if anything? We've discussed this before. He was touting addiction farms, which was a model, I believe, in outside of Lisbon or something, in Portugal at a time. For long-term care. I just wanted to see if you wanted to pontificate a little bit at the future of treatment is what I'm getting at, Drew.
Yeah. He has his eye on that ball. He wants to do something there. He's got a lot on his plate. That you got to give these guys time. The bureaucracy is vast at HHS, and they're trying to knock things off one thing at a time. He himself was treated at a work farm that is highly recovery based, obviously. Lots of meetings, lots of 12-step, lots of community participation, $75 a week. And after he got sober there, I think he spent 6 months there. He has since sent hundreds of others there. And so fortunately, he knows the importance of that kind of structure sustained over a long period of time, that sort of residential level care, which I'm all signed off on. I'm ready to help him do that. Unfortunately, he's a little naive about what it takes to get somebody into shape for that and what other needs they might have once they're there. So we are going to have to also create a huge infrastructure of psychiatric hospitals and residential step-down units, and then work programs. And those work programs are also going to need to include a lot of vocational rehab. We got to get people back to the workforce. So yeah, I think he's got a good idea. I've talked to him about it, and I've sort of gently said it gets complicated because, with the way I've approached it with him is to say, we've let people get so far gone, which is true, that they're lying on the sidewalks, dead or half dead. And that takes some doing to get them into shape where they can come to your farms. He agreed. He understood that.
Well, you believe in some sort of conservatorship situation.
I believe in addition to we've got so much reform we have to do in California. We need to improve access to conservatorship, which we've done a little bit of. We've actually gone at that a bit, and because there are humans that require custodial care. And everyone understands that's true for dementia. Unfortunately, they're in denial that there are many other brain diseases that can land you in the same condition. So,
okay, I want to shift from we talked about addiction. We could talk about it for days. I wanted to just, as painful as this might be for you, just talk about your early childhood yourself. Like what was it like? You and I have talked about this before. Your father was in World War II. He came from Russian Judaism.
Oh, so they were.
Your grandparents.
Grandmother Belarus. Grandfather Ukrainian.
Ooh.
He was a sergeant in the First World War. I found out just before my uncle died.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
And after that, now
were they in Chicago, Drew? Where is this?
So my grandmother used to talk about the bandits coming through town. And the bandits nobody knew whether they were criminals or Bolsheviks or Mensheviks or Czarists or just good old-fashioned
pogroms, I presume.
Or just good old-fashioned pogroms.
The old-fashioned pogroms.
She never knew who it was, but this was all in and around the Russian Revolution, right? It was not good, and Stalin was coming in, and my grandfather had the good foresight to say, we are getting the hell out of here. And there was a massive diaspora from Western Russia, what was Russia at the time, to the United States in particular. And they had to go through Canada, they had to get sponsors, it took months. They had to prove that they could make a living, and they had to have people vouch for them, and it cost a fortune, and people had to back them up. They lost a child along the way. A child died of appendicitis, of all things, making this crossing. They came in from Montreal into Hartford and then found their way to Chicago to live in essentially a Jewish enclave, which became a ghetto during what they arrived just in time for the Depression.
Oh, good timing. Way to go. Way to go.
Yeah.
But were they merchants, Drew, or what was their vocation?
They apparently set up a restaurant to begin with, and that got clobbered in the Depression very quickly. Wow. And my grandfather became a grocer. And my dad was forever.
Was he a Pinsky, or was there a longer name?
No, I think it
Pinsky
might have been.
Seems like an abbreviation of
I think it might have been Pinskayev at one time.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
But they did not know if they were going to eat. They did not. They had to have roommates in their house to handle the 3 rooms they were in, and made it through. And the 2 sons, my uncle and my dad, and put everything into them, of course. Yeah. And they both went to medical school eventually. And my dad came out here and thought he'd found like nirvana back in those days.
But he was in World War II, your dad, right?
He was in the Korean War.
Oh, okay. Is this a photo of him in Korea?
Correct.
Oh, okay. I was a little confused by that timeline wise.
Yeah, he was a flight surgeon in the Air Force.
What does a flight surgeon in the Air Force do?
I don't know.
Okay,
But I
yeah, that
know
is a little
I know that it's I think it is essentially like at that point was like he used to shoot his mouth off. He's like
right.
me about whether or not we should be in this Korean War. And he was originally on some base in Texas and started, talking about
Well, he
politics.
looks pretty happy here
Well,
to be a grunt.
so hang on. The commander called him in and went, you know what? You want to see what the Korean War is on? We're going to send you right here. They sent him to the front lines of
Get
the Air
out.
Force, the
Get
38
out.
parallel, I think they called it.
Right, yeah,
They sent
yeah.
him right there.
It's
So
the
that's him on the
DMZ.
38th.
It's the DMZ.
Yeah. Now the
There's a
DMZ.
lot of
That's right.
rumors that he used biological warfare at the 38th parallel, which is a story for another day.
He never reported anything like that. He reported lots of bombings and mortars and things like that, but not.
There are pilots who came back and reported that that's what they.
Well, and his pilots were the pilots that burned up in one of the Apollo things. Was not Apollo 13? Was it Apollo 11?
Yeah,
the one that burned up. Those were his pilots. Those were his fighter pilots.
Wow. Well, when they came back, when POWs did come back, they had to be debriefed because they were claiming that we had used biological warfare.
That
we had, and
well,
we did not want that out. And
Yep.
we claimed that they were brainwashed, but that's highly, highly
who knows?
Challenged.
We don't
know.
I'm trying to finish the flight surgeon thing.
Oh, go ahead.
They had to spend a certain amount of time in the air. So I think they were basically the base physician that spent a bunch of time in the air.
Right.
And so that made you a flight surgeon and some specialized training of some type.
So he comes back. How does he meet your mother, by the way? Does he go to the Grinder or
they meet through mutual friends,
right?
Whose names comically I shall never forget: Richard and Ruby Dick.
Richard and Ruby Dick? Is that Andy Dick's parents?
Dick, and Ruby Dick.
Dick and Ruby Dick. No relation to Andy Dick.
No relation to Andy Dick.
Somehow introduced your dad to this bombshell.
Yeah, somehow that happened.
Right. Now, this bombshell comes out of Pennsylvania, upper class WASP woman, I presume.
Yeah.
How does that happen? How does that happen?
So, how do they meet? How does she end up?
How is your father, who looks like I don't know, a Nebusha Jew from Chicago, end up with this startling, beautiful Shiksa goddess?
He always was counting his blessings that happened. I will tell you that the road to that.
Yeah.
Do you know that story? This story?
No, that's why I wanted to talk about it.
So she ran away from home essentially at age 18.
I did not know that.
Well, I'll tell you how she ran away from home because it's complicated. Because can
we show some pictures of her while you're describing this?
Well, hang on. Let me do it first because this is I want to get through it because it's pretty complicated.
Go ahead, Bobby.
Her dad was like owned it like an. I asked her many times. She shrouded her family of origin in mystery. She did not talk about them. It was somewhere out there. They lived on Strawberry Hill, which is not so great now. And he owned like a
is that in Philadelphia?
Yeah, Philadelphia. And they are old Philadelphia family.
Right.
She would always talk about them being so Victorian. They were abusive to each other. They wouldn't speak to each other for years. Literally, they'd have to have dinner every night with the 3 daughters and a son, and no one was allowed to speak. And the mother would go, tell Mr. Stansbury to pass the salt.
That's how my family rolled. That's how we rolled.
All right, well, good for you. Sounds a little difficult for me. Anyway, she got the hell out of there. How did she get out of there? She was the 5th wife of a 65-year-old silent film star who came out, married her, and took her to Southern California.
You're talking about Ken Harlan, I presume. Ken Harlan was very famous. Drew is minimizing it for effect, but Ken Harlan was a huge silent film star. He actually made it into the talkies and musicals and comedy and everything else. He had 9 wives. Now, from the mathematics, where do you think your mother fit in of the 9?
5 or 6.
Okay. Okay.
So
Because he was a good-looking guy and very prolific in the women marriage department, from what I understand.
so I did not know about this
Okay.
until I was 50.
What?
When a friend of mine was going, your mom was in film noir. I'm a big film noir fan. It starts going on the internet, right? And
Oh
looks her
yeah.
up like, oh, here's a
Oh.
bio of her from this film noir film. And they
Well, let's
describe
show a
this.
couple of the films that she was in. I have
Okay.
maybe you can comment on some of these
Okay.
films because she was a film noir person,
Yeah.
and I believe her name was given to her by Luella Parsons, if my
Correct.
research is correct. That's
That is correct.
Helene Stanton
That is
was her.
correct.
Was that right, Drew? Was it Helene
Correct.
Stanton was the stage name?
Correct.
This is one girl. A lot of these are film noir movies that came out. I would consider them B films now,
Oh yeah.
but well watchable. There's one in New Orleans that was particularly well received, and also there was one. Somehow the Moon Men of
Yeah. Right.
there was one that I
With a
really
bunch of
loved.
dwarfs in the film. They're
This is called
with
Jungle Moon Men.
but
With Go ahead. I'm sorry.
the notable co-star is Johnny Weissmuller.
Yeah, the legendary Tarzan.
Yeah.
This is Jungle Moon Man. We got a couple of others here I wanted to see.
So
Johnny Weissmuller was one.
uh,
Jungle Moon Man, One Girl's Confession, right? There was this one, Four Girls in Town. It kind of makes its own sauce. The story of four girls who show up in Hollywood trying to make it in this
wow.
crazy town, Drew.
I have to look that one up.
You have to look that up because your mother's in that.
She hit a bunch of stuff, right? She hit everything.
She's also in The Big Combo, which is another
Yes,
film
that's a big one.
noir with Cornel
Yeah.
Wilde and Richard Conte.
Yeah.
Did she tell you anything about this when you were growing up?
She would tell, it was interesting. So she considered herself an opera singer.
Right.
That was her passion. And she was with the Philadelphia Opera Company before she ran away from home. And she sang with big bands and stuff, and actually opened the Dunes Hotel in Las Vegas.
Wasn't she at Ciro's right here in Hollywood?
I don't know, because she left out big chunks.
God.
Big chunks were left out because we don't even know if my dad knew about this previous marriage. We don't know.
Oh my God.
And when I found out, I think he was already gone, and she was like 86 or something at the time. And I said, look, if she's hid this thing this far and wants to take it to her grave, God bless her. Let her take it to the grave. That's fine with me.
Was she embarrassed that she did these films? And they're not.
Not the films, it's the marriage.
The original marriage to him.
Yeah, the Ken Harlan marriage, because I don't know if my dad knew about it. I don't know if divorce was a very disgraceful thing at that time.
But it was in the trades.
I know. Listen, but you had to read the trades, right? You had to, these things could be hidden. So when I found out about it, I was like, well, I'm such an asshole. First thing I thought was, Ken Harlan, does somebody owe me some money? Am I related to this guy? I was sort of kidding, but sort of not. Because my mother was very abusive in my childhood. Very, very, very.
To you or to?
Very abusive to me. Very.
To you? Wait a second. Did you have a sister also?
I had a sister who is 6 years younger. And by the time she came around, they were now approaching their 40s. And a lot of this craziness had settled.
Right.
But she was really bad. And when I was
it like Mommy Dearest level?
It was absolutely Mommy Dearest stuff.
So you lived Mommy Dearest.
And when Faye Dunaway did that character, I went, I've seen that. In fact, I'd only seen yelling the way my mother would yell one time in the locked unit at the psychiatric hospital. She would yell like that all the time.
God. Wow.
And when I was 2, check it out. Listen, I've been treated. It's full forgiveness. I'm happy with my everything. God bless her heart. Yeah. She was traumatized too, no doubt.
Right.
But it's still not okay to do that to kids. Just state it for the record. And when I was 2, and I know it was 2 because we lived in Alhambra originally,
right.
back, and she was hiding out. Mark, she was in Alhambra, from the Hollywood Alhambra,
right.
And I know. So we moved out of there when I was late in my 2s, and so I remember the 101 Dalmatian came out that year at that house, and I went, "Oh, that's my mom." Cruella DeVille. That is my mom. Absolutely.
Wow.
100%.
Wow.
And recently I made another connection to that. I was talking to a therapist about how cruel she was and how, how difficult that was. And I went, oh my God, I live in the simulation. She was Helene Stanton I knew her as Helene, but her family knew her as Eleanor, and they called her Elle, Cruel Elle.
No.
Yeah,
No, get out. Oh my
so,
God.
So I was like, I live in the simulation. My mother is Cruel Elle.
Well, here's just some clippings I've gotten out of the trades. I just wanted to read a couple to you. There's a picture of your mom here.
You did too much research.
Shut up.
Remember, before the internet, that stuff was not available. It was printed
right.
that
But you
day
could get microfilm.
Gone.
You could get microfilm, which is what I used to do.
Well, my dad's going to go do microfilm.
This is one of the trades here. It says Helene Stanton, said to be a provocatively sexy young lady, Drew, will play a top-ranking movie luminary in Starlight at the UI. She has done mostly TV lately. Now, she did do Highway Patrol. She did do Lawrence Red Skelton's show as a performer.
No, she used to do yes, Red Skelton, but she used to do with Red Skelton or Ben Blue.
Ben Blue, the comic. She worked as a comedy
big
duo.
shows. She's on the wall at CBS Studios in New York.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
She won the attention of filmmakers because of her sexy walk on TV, Drew. Apparently, some sort of walk. She is the second Universal find to be thus secured. Lace Snowden attracted attention for her walk in a Jack Benny show. And then there's this clipping here that I found the other day, which says Helene Stanton gets first film role, considering that this is from Luella Parsons, Drew.
Oh, yeah.
Who gives her the name.
Yeah.
And Luella Parsons taking credit, as she always did, for her own actions. So Luella Parsons, for people at home, was...
There's a famous story of Luella Parsons, my mother in Atlanta, I think.
Hold on, let me just read this, and then you can say that. Considering that I gave Helene Stanton her name for her career, quote, she was Eleanor Stansberry, close, at the time, the redheaded singer joined Jimmy McHugh's nightclub act. I'm interested to hear that she's been signed for her first important screen role. Helene plays the high priestess opposite Johnny Weissmuller in Jungle Jim and The Moon Man. And I guess they changed the name later.
Yeah.
The producer, Sam Katzman, tells me that Helene looks like a million in the test she made. She's tall and redheaded. Not unlike, and this is the point I was getting to, that they were comparing her to Rita Hayworth. If Columbia will pardon the comparison. In other words, this was the universal version of what they were trying to find in your mom, another Rita Hayworth. Helene has a beautiful soprano voice, Drew. So apparently, like you said,
she was a very skilled singer. Very, very,
right. She won't warble in the jungle.
That I will give her. She's a real serious musician, like a real deal musician.
But this final one, just on the clippings, I just want to finish this clipping that I got here. If you take a look at the headline, these are all from Hollywood Reporter and Variety and stuff. Fifth wife of actor gets real friendly divorce. The fifth wife of silent film star Kenneth Harlan was freed today of marital bonds. Actress-singer Helene Stanton, 25, obtained a divorce yesterday from 58-year-old Harlan on grounds of cruelty, Drew. But it was a quote-unquote real friendly divorce, the actress told newsmen outside the courtroom. It is just too bad we didn't get along, she said. He's really very nice. Matter of fact, I think I'll take him out to lunch. The couple was married in 1949, separated last April.
Wow.
So there is information out there.
That he was cruel to her and she was cruel to me.
Well, you know how it is. It passes along the chain of abuse.
Yes, it does. Wild. Well, so a lot of that time in her life, she would sort of shroud. It was very weird. It was all very sort of vague. And she would talk always about, oh, I was roommates with Carolyn Jones and I was with Barbara Eden and all this stuff. So I discovered, I forget how I discovered this. Oh, I know how. But about 2 weeks after I found out about this secret life, Corolla and I are doing appearance in Santa Barbara. And this woman comes up to me and she goes, I need to make an amends to you for my grandfather.
What?
Ken Harlan.
No.
And I went, really?
Weird.
I go, yes, my father was your mother's stepson.
Oh.
So if you want to know how brutal my mother was, she had a stepson for 10 years and just left and never had any contact with him again. So me being who I am went, oh, give me your father's contact information. I'm going to call him.
Oh
So I
my God.
did.
Oh no.
And he was a retired dentist in Stockton, yeah, up north.
Okay.
And he was like, I don't know, it was like having a sister.
Yeah.
And he said, and one day she sat me down and said, I'm leaving. Bye. So, oh God. But that sounds like her, particularly at that time.
There's a photo I wanted to show, a color photo that your wife sent me of this here. Now, this looks like a beautiful, beautiful Americana family. She looks very, pretty. You look good. Your sister looks good. But you're saying there was trouble behind this.
So now I know what happened here. My wife told me about a week and a half ago that she was looking at old pictures of me with my mother. She did not tell me about you and your excavating.
Well, we were keeping it secret from you. We were trying to keep it secret.
And she goes, and I'd been talking to her recently about how she didn't believe me and how cool she was. And she said, oh, I look at those pictures now and I see something different. You can see the depression in me. I don't want to be there. I'm angry. I'm depressed. It's just like, get me out of here. And everything was staged and everything was bullshit. And then when I was alone with her, that's when the shit went down. So no one.
So she could put on a good front, like for this photograph here.
Or I had to pose. I was a lapdog.
Yeah, you do look a little concerned, a little down. I could say,
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting.
I look at it, I feel terrible looking at it. It's like, ugh.
Wow.
So I was.
But I mean, where is your dad at this point? Working 18 hours a day?
Correct. Working.
Yes, of course. And did you make the rounds with him? I mean, did you ever go along?
I did. I would go on house calls with him. Yeah, I would go on house calls with him. I would go to the hospital with him on the weekends and things. And I thank God he had the most exquisite medical judgment, like wildly exquisite. And I thank God I got like 85% of that.
Did he actually go into people's private homes?
Yeah, I did that too for years. I did that myself for years. First 10 years of practice.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, did you literally take over his physical practice?
I did. That was the biggest mistake I ever made.
Because they were used to him, and now they've
not even that. He was practicing. He was breaking laws all over the place. In terms, he was still practicing as though it was 1952. And it was 1988.
Right.
And there was, he was ignoring Medicare laws and just ignoring everything. And I was like, oh my God, it would have been so much easier if I just started out cold. But anyway, so there we are. That was actually at Lost Encina, strangely enough.
This one here. So this is in the 80s, I presume, right?
Yes, like 87 or something. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So let me ask something. How do you go from a doctor's son? I mean, did you feel that you could never live up to what he was? I mean, or you wanted to do better than him, or what was your relationship in terms intellectually with him? Was he harsh to you? Did he say you've got to?
Well,
I mean, you went to Amherst, which is kind of an artsy school, Drew.
A what school?
An artsy type school, Amherst.
No, not then. Very heavy science then.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. The science was like, we were like MIT in terms of the science training we got. There's mixed things about him. So I had a lot more training and knowledge than him. And I knew it.
Because of modern training, or
the modern training, and he was a family practitioner. I was an internist.
Right.
And it's a different training. It just is. And so I knew I could handle and do a lot more. And then my psychiatric training, working at a psych hospital all those years, way surpassed what he could do.
Right.
But we would still work alongside each other, and that was okay. It was and he was sort of backing down and stuff. But I did feel the drive to do better than him.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah,
I definitely did feel that drive for sure.
And you did do better than him.
I could do that pretty well. I could do that to my satisfaction.
Right.
But this whole other thing that happened to me, that the whole reason you're talking to me, this whole media thing, where did that come from? That was a complete accident.
Well, you've always had first of all, you got this mother who's in pop culture. So there's that. Then you have this mother who has some sort of training and genetic singing voice, which you have. It might be genetic, Drew. You have as I've known you for years, you have a connection to pop culture, and you've always gravitated towards pop culture.
I
So it's not
gravitate towards audiences.
audiences.
That is my thing. I love public speaking, even if it's to a
Mhm.
group of doctors.
Right.
And radio to me was just another public speaking endeavor.
Right.
And what drove me in there in 1983
This is
was that
KROQ now you're
this is
talking about.
KROQ, this is
Yeah.
Loveline,
Loveline.
is that there was this thing we just stopped calling grids and just started calling AIDS. And no one was talking to young people about it because, well, why would you talk to, that was the 90s already.
Yeah,
Why,
this is a little later. Yeah.
10 years later.
Yeah, there's a
And actually
shot your wife sent me in
14.
1987 of you on
No,
KROQ. Is
no,
that
that's
it's
19. Adam didn't show up till 1996.
right, but there's one shot of you by yourself,
Oh yeah, yeah,
before
yeah.
that your wife gave me. I don't know
Yes, the
if
black
we
and white
have that.
photo at the
It's a black and
microphone.
white photo.
Yeah,
You look
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot younger, and I think she asked me what year it was. I don't know. I
That was
guessed
late 80s. That was late 80s.
87 is what I guessed.
I think it's even
Take a look
after
at
that.
this. Maybe this will remind you
That's
here.
it. Yeah, that's it.
Now
Because
this is you solo on KROQ.
well, I was not solo. I was just running the board.
Interesting.
And so I would sit at the board and I would do the commercials and pot things up and do the intros and outros and stuff. And that's me running the board.
So when does
Uh,
Loveline become created?
83. It was already there. It was not in its current form, the form it got
Right.
into, but it was a thing. That's what I went in to go do in 1983 was to.
How did that come about? That's what my question is. How
So
does that happen?
oh, you're giving me agita talking about this stuff.
This is your life, Pinsky.
I see that. When do we finish? When is it over?
Oh, stop it. Would you stop it?
So in no wonder was my wife was so interested in how to get a link to this show.
Yeah,
So
now you get it. Now you
yeah, I
see
know,
it.
I get it.
Conspired against you.
I know, I get it. I see what happened. So in 1983, I'm a third year medical student. 83 was it? Yeah, it was 83. Yeah. I'm just moving towards fourth year, and
Is it USC, Drew? Or?
USC medical school. We all lived in Pasadena, South Pasadena, and overnight, KROQ became the dominant radio station in Los Angeles. This is the #1 radio market in the country. This radio station comes out of nowhere and suddenly dominates and knocks aside KLOS and KMET and KNAC and all those dominant radio stations for decades. It was a shock to everyone's system, and the radio station was 300 yards from my condominium, from my apartment.
Weird.
And so people I knew were starting to socialize with people at the station there. And this one guy, Bob Taylor, calls me and goes, the station. I go, yeah, I'm listening now. He goes, well, they have this show, this guy, it's called Loveline. It's at midnight to 3 a.m. Sunday night. And they want you to come in and do a segment called Ask a Surgeon. It'll be really funny. You use big words. It'll be funny. I'm like, what? So anyway, I was finally convinced to go. I brought my gynecology and my infectious disease textbooks with me. I was freaked out. And I was blown away by what was being presented to FM disc jockeys in the middle of the night. The most important health questions for young adults and adolescents. And of course, the sexual revolution had just happened, and adults were in denial about what they had done to adolescents and young adults. I lived it. I knew what was happening, and I knew what they needed, and there was no reason they shouldn't have access to information about reproductive health and STDs. And oh, by the way, there's this thing called AIDS you need to know about. And it was scandalous that a doctor would talk to a young person about these issues, because why would you? They don't need that. You don't talk to them about sex.
Well, it's also that they're talking just over the phone, describing their situation. It seemed a little unprofessional, I'd imagine.
No, I never got anything like that.
Oh, weird.
Because I maintained a certain demeanor, and it was very
okay, right. No, later with Adam, he was counter to that.
Well, that there was always that element, and that's what we called the Gainsberger and the pill philosophy, which was you can't get a dog to take a pill just by handing it the pill. You have to wrap it in something tasty, and that was Adam, that was Poor Man, that was Ricky Rackman. There was always whoever I was broadcasting with at the time, and I perfectly understood that. They did not want to hear from me. I was the pill,
right? But you did give out pills. I mean, pills of information.
Yeah. No, I felt very, very committed to what I was.
It was a great show. I mean, I listened to it
10 years for free. I thought I was doing community service. I thought this was community service. And the fact that my residency director freaked out about it when LA Times did an article about it in 1986 or 87, I thought he was just telling me there's something wrong with me. That what are you doing? This is scandalous.
What?
And I thought, maybe there is something wrong with me. Maybe I'm wrong. And I stopped doing it for 6 months because I was going to be kicked out of my residency program. And I slowly came back in as there became a mandate for physicians to talk to young people about AIDS.
Right.
And my residency director actually walked up to me in the hall like 2 years later after destroying me. 2 years later, he'd forgotten he did that. And he went, "Hey, you still doing that radio show?" And I go, I thought, oh shit, here it comes. I go, "Yeah, I'm doing it again." And he went, "How about I do it? I'll take over. I'll take over the show."
God. You got to be kidding me.
Nope, not kidding you. I thought, wow, I will never forget this.
What?
And then he made me, God bless him. I still refer patients to him to this day. He's a brilliant physician, and he's made me his chief resident finally. And I did a chief residency at that same unit.
That was the quid pro quo.
No quid pro quo. He forgot. He also forgot that he asked me to take over the show. I don't think he understood quite what that even meant.
Right.
But so I just stayed with it. I just thought it was important. I enjoyed doing it.
How does Adam get involved? At what point do you meet Corolla? And like, what's the I've never learned that backstory.
So Adam is a carpenter and a boxing instructor at Bodies in Motion here in Pasadena.
I remember that. Yeah.
And he hears on KROQ, he's a KROQ, and he used to listen to Loveline like crazy. And he hears on the radio that Jimmy, the sports guy, is going to have a boxing match with Michael, the maintenance man, and they need a boxing instructor to train one of these guys. And so Adam literally went over to the station, was in Burbank by that point. I moved from Pasadena to Burbank and waited at the elevator wells for somebody to come out. He just waited for hours, I think. And somebody came out and he went, "Hey, I'm a boxing instructor. I hear you need a boxing instructor." So, and then the guy went back, "Hold on a second," goes back. Jimmy Kimmel comes out and says, "All right, I'll meet you tomorrow afternoon. We'll start training." And Adam trained Jimmy for this match, and they became friends as a result. And Jimmy said, "Hey, you're funny. You should come up with a character and call in on our morning show." And so he called in as Mr. Burcham, the perverted middle school Vietnam vet shop instructor.
What?
And that became a daily character on the morning show on KROQ.
Brilliant.
And then he was called in to be a regular part of the show with Jimmy, and they sort of teamed up as a comedy duo. And I heard Burcham, and I used to time my nursing home rounds with, they finally gave him his own shift as Burcham on a Saturday. And I would time my nursing home rounds for his breaks because he would take calls from listeners as Burcham. And I thought it was so funny. So I made sure I was in my car during his breaks.
Where are you now? Los Encinas or
now I'm practicing medicine. I'm doing, afternoon. I'm running medical services at Los Encinas. I'm doing intensive care medicine. I'm doing hospital medicine. I'm doing outpatient medicine. I've not yet kicked into the addiction stuff quite fully yet.
Right. Where's your dad during this? Is your dad retired or?
He started semi-retired. He's working alongside of me at the outpatient part of the practice.
Right.
I used to have him do the physicals on my patients. We were still doing physicals in those days.
Gotcha.
And so where are we? So
you're with Adam. You're doing Loveline now.
So no, we're not yet. He's doing the morning show.
Okay.
I hear him and I tell our producer, get that guy to come up as a guest on Loveline. He's so funny. Mm-hmm. So he comes up as Mr. Burcham. And at that point, I believe I'm broadcasting with Ricky Rackman, who from Headbangers Ball back in the day.
Oh yeah.
And we meet. He's there as Mr. Burcham. I don't think anything really of it. And fast forward a couple of years, these television producers show up. We're going to turn your radio show into a TV show. I'm like, what is that? How do you do that?
What does that mean?
I don't know what is going on. And the radio show at that point, I think, was 5 nights a week, which is already, was it 5 nights? Yeah, it was 5 nights a week at that point. And it already caused me to dial down my workaholism a little bit.
Right. Well, you do admit you're a workaholic, right?
Severe workaholic. Yeah. I'm working on amends on that stuff, frankly.
That's the first step. That's the first step.
Not good. It was not good.
Yeah.
But I had.
What are the hours now? 10 to 2 for the show, Loveline?
At that point, it's 10 to midnight.
10 to midnight. Okay. Yeah.
And and it made me come home at 7:00 for dinner and then go back out again at 9:00 kind of thing.
Wait, do you have a wife yet?
I have a wife at that point, 91 is when I
Okay,
have a
how do
wife.
you meet Susan? Because I didn't want
We
to
met through
overlap
radio.
this.
She was managing
Oh,
the
right.
model group that did performances for the radio station. And she actually won a beauty contest that the station put on, this bikini contest they put on. She was won the whole thing. And they then appointed her as the head model, head bikini girl. And she managed that group, that troupe for about 3 or 4 years. That's how we met.
There's a photo that she sent me of your marriage, of your wedding. Let me walk that back. And a photo of your father's wedding to your mom that looks exactly the same.
Oh, that's weird.
Dude, it is so weird that if you didn't know who you were, you have to look 2 or 3 times to see that it's not you as your father.
Wow.
In the photo. And I don't know if we have. There's a couple of photos. I don't know if you saw these or your wife sent them to me. There's one where you're bending over, kissing her, I think, and then your father's in a similar situation, a black and white photo with your mom. The only way to tell is your father's got a blonde and you've got a brunette.
Sort of. She was pretty blondie back then.
This is you here, right? This is not your dad. Now, where is this? In Malibu or something?
No, it's in Dana Point. It's
I love
Ritz-Carlton, and it's, I think, technically Dana Point.
I spent some COVID time in Dana Point.
It's over. That's over Salt Creek.
Right. Oh, yes. Yeah. Now, your father had a place in Laguna Beach at the time?
Still do. They have a condo there we share with my sister. And the weird thing, I just happened to follow Susanna Hoffs because she was from the Bengals. She was a friend from the old radio days, and she was on. And I see her doing a little Instagram post because it's summertime, and she takes a picture, and she's in a condo 2 condos away from ours. I was like, "What the hell are you doing?" I couldn't believe it.
Look at this picture of the marriage of your father to your mother. And tell me, the people at home who are looking at this picture, this looks exactly the same. I mean, you look like a dead ringer for him, Drew. I mean, obviously, this is in black and white. And there's a different kind of look with your dad, but it's very similar.
Yeah,
very similar.
Yeah, well, there you go. Good to
know.
Okay,
so you meet Susan, you marry Susan. This is Susan here on the right, and the lovely Drew Pinsky on the left. And how soon does she get pregnant?
She had me in the fertility office the week we got back from our honeymoon.
Okay. And all of a sudden there's some results after this fertility office, and these 3 beings are produced. And these 3 here, these lovely critters, this is one of my favorite photos of all time. Tell me who these people are in this photo.
That is Douglas on the left. He's now an attorney and runs a big business. Paulina in the middle, who is getting married next summer, and she's a writer. And then Jordan on the right, who was a mathematician and then worked for Adam Sandler's group for a while, and now he's getting a psychology license.
Okay, so the 3 of them are roughly the same age.
Roughly?
I'm joking. But did they come out I assume one's older than the next by a couple of seconds.
By a couple of minutes, yeah. Douglas first, then Jordan, then Paulina.
Right. Now, what is it like having triplets?
It's insane, but we didn't know any different. We were in survival mode. Now that we have a granddaughter,
this is them when, like 10, 15 years ago?
I can't quite see is everyone wearing leather jackets?
Yeah.
It's the Wild Hogs premiere. I was in Wild Hogs with Tim Allen, but they cut me out of the part that you see on TV, and it was a stretch. I play a doctor.
Oh, that's a stretch.
But it was fun. I spent the whole day with Tim Allen.
The daughter's beautiful. Both his kids are beautiful.
And by the way, we did a little talk about, you and I did some talking about addiction. Tim has a hair-raising tales about, we just shared war stories all day long. It was great.
No, I've heard Tim. I know this. I know everybody's story. But yeah, at least he donated a room to the Hollywood Y, which has his name on a plaque. I don't know if the Hollywood Y is still there. I think it might be closed.
Well, you did let me finish 2 stories.
Go ahead.
How we got Adam, and then I didn't finish how my mother ended up in Alhambra. So All right. So Adam came because I had met him as Mr. Bertram on the radio. And these television producers showed up. We're going to do a TV show. They couldn't make a deal with Ricky. And they turned to me and went, "Who do you want the co-host to be?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'd leave me alone. I want to practice medicine, you know." And by the way, and when it came time to do a TV show, I was like, I've got Friday afternoon and Saturday afternoon, and that's it. If we can do it there, and that's where we did it. We did 6 shows a day, or 4 shows a day at least, in Friday and Saturday afternoons. But in any event, I went running, and I can tell you the spot I was in where I thought, I bet that Adam Corolla guy could do it. I bet he could do it. And I made some calls, and they tested us, and they said, you know, we did it. We did a pilot, and that was that. And the pilot went so well. Literally, the stage director came up to us. It was about a 10-hour shoot day. Came up to us in the day and went, "How many years you guys been working together?" And we looked at each other. We're like, "We just met this morning." And she was like, "Oh my God, this is going to be a thing. This is going to be this is going to work." And so they brought him in on the radio, and the rest is history, as they say.
Wow. Now, getting back to your mother,
my mother, where did we leave off? She was.
You left off with this. There's a photo I wanted you. There's one of you in a photo booth with her.
Yeah.
And then there's one with you with a puppy. I think that's your dog or something.
Yes.
And then there's a series of photos. It looks like you're in 5th grade with glasses.
Yeah.
Like, what is this here? What's going on here, for instance?
I don't know. I would say I was held
That's
captive.
In the photo booth.
You can see me squirming, trying to get away.
Okay.
My guess is that is like Pacific Ocean Park, something like that. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't. I'm from Brooklyn. No, what is Pacific Ocean Park?
It's now the Santa Monica Pier.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, gotcha.
It was an old, sort of Coney Island style thing back in those days. Yeah.
Now take a look at this and tell me where you're going. What is your ambition here? Trying to escape or running away from home, or
probably get the hell out of here.
Get out of Alhambra.
I was depressed. I used to sit outside a lot just to get out.
Just mope or
mope.
Cry?
Yeah, just walk, mope.
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
Wow.
So I told you about the stepson and how abrupt her thing is.
Yes.
They meet. I think my dad was a life preserver, right? To try to get her, because she wanted kids and she wanted to get out. And this Harlan dude turned out to be a disaster. When I spoke to the stepson, he goes, "Yeah, my dad wasn't a nice guy, drinker, shocking." And he goes, "But they'd have party every Sunday night." And my mom always had this weird connection to that sort of La Brea tar pits area. Apparently they lived in that Miracle Mile area, according to the stepson. This is where I got all this information from. And he said, yeah, every Sunday night, this one couple would come over. He goes, the man, he described him, he's some character actor from Westerns, very famous guy. And he goes, and again, my mom always talked about the people she was around. I knew Carolyn Jones. I knew Barbara Eden. I knew blah, blah, blah. Anne Bancroft was her friend.
What?
Yeah. That was, anyway.
Before she was married to Mel Brooks?
Before Mel Brooks, or right around the time. And somehow Ben Blue came in with Bancroft or something. But this guy, the dentist goes, well, there's the husband was this film actor or whatever. And the woman, I don't know, maybe you know her. Did you ever watch the Beverly Hillbillies? Granny and the Beverly Hillbillies. I'm like,
wait, what? Granny was a regular?
I watched that show religiously as a kid. She never mentioned that one, because that would have opened the door to, what's going on? How often?
Well, famously, people know your addiction to Love Boat.
Well, that's Adam's thing. That's
Adam's thing. I mean, you two have discussed
Love Boat. We do it as a time capsule to explore the 70s, which we both hate.
Right.
We both hated the 70s.
But nobody, I mean, he's almost like it's some sort of Tourette's that he's got with Love Boat. I don't understand why.
It's over. We passed. We moved on to other things. We've gone on to we've moved on to sandwiches, Mark.
Okay.
Sandwiches.
He's obviously on the spectrum, Drew. I mean, I love Adam. I think he's brilliant, but very spectrum-y.
A little bit. Some of that stuff is that way, but I've learned to peer into his crystal brain and learn from it and behold things. It
is a weird brain. The information that comes out of his mouth after it kicks around in that brain.
I've been around it enough to tell you it's accurate.
Yeah.
He has a track record. He's accurate. So I look at his crystal brain. I consult the crystal brain.
Well, take a look at this photo and tell me what your brain is thinking in this photo. Maybe where this
Mark,
is.
Oh yeah.
Is this from school? Is this like a school?
It was fifth
sixth
grade.
Sixth or fifth? Fifth.
You got it. Fifth grade. That was the beginning of real trouble of adolescence, of just difficulty with. Again, I was a trauma survivor. I had no sense of self.
Right.
Puberty was a mystery to me. I was.
Did your mother come up to school? I mean, was she called by the guidance counselor to come up and deal with you?
No. No.
I mean, how were your grades? Let me ask you that.
Sixth grade, I started doing poorly because that's when the depression really hit me around sixth grade.
Yeah.
I found Laguna Beach after that, so I would work hard to get to the summer. So my summers were when I lived down in Laguna.
Because you went down to that condo. Yeah.
And so that was kind of I not thought about that till this point. That kind of
that was your escape. That was your escape hatch.
Yeah, and I had friends from that I would still stay in contact with, and I actually was thinking about leaving Poly at that point, and I hit sort of a bottom academically, like my first part of my freshman year in high school, and then I always, as always, you have to hit some kind of bottom. I got my shit together, and I did better and better and better and better, and by my late junior year, definitely my senior year, I found workaholism. I found hyperachievement.
That became your addiction.
And I really went.
It shut off the noise in your head and allowed you to hyper focus on something.
Oh my God. I could do everything. I could just more, and it was great.
Who was did you have a girlfriend at the time when you
had a girlfriend my junior and senior year, and
or a hostage, as some people say?
Hostage.
You took her hostage, didn't you?
100%. I feel that's another amends.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you know where she is? Is she still alive, or?
I don't know. I don't have any contact lately.
Well, if you're out there, call the show 1-800-DREW-HOSTAGE.
Oh my God.
We're open right now. Okay, so you had a girlfriend. You started to play some sports. That might help a little bit.
She also was my salvation too.
She was your salvation.
Yeah, because I could get away from everything at home.
Are there similarities between Susan and your mother?
Her mother used to say that.
Okay.
Her mother used to say that. I don't see it.
Yeah. Oh my Lord Jesus.
Susan would sometimes talk about there being something. I don't see it. I really don't.
Well, you're not supposed to see it. If you saw it, it would be awkward.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're not supposed to see it.
But
it's supposed to be subconscious.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably something, but it's I don't know. Her mom saw it. Her mom kept talking about it.
Okay, so you get these triplets. Now you got your hands full. Now you've got to go and make some money. You got to work. Where are you living? What is going on? Your wife is at home with these 3 babies.
Yeah.
Is it crazy? What's going on?
So they tried to get us to reduce to twins, right? To do a selective reduction.
Yeah.
And we really decided we are just all in as parents. So now parents become our full-time thing.
Yeah.
And we are in a little house in Glendale, about 1,800 square feet, which was great because we needed to keep everybody contained.
Surrounded by Armenians.
Not in that part of Glendale, but we have a lot of Armenian friends for sure.
Okay. Well, Garagos is Armenian, right?
By the way, I'm telling you, when the Garagoses are dear friends, and I started going to fundraisers with them.
Yeah.
And guess what? There's always clergy there. The clergy's always telling jokes. The clergy moves in and out of a strange language. They're always talking about business and money and family and education. I went, oh my God. I was like, this is so familiar.
Yeah.
They are the lost tribe of Israel. I guarantee you.
Well, he has said, Garagos said if they thought he was Jewish, he just rolled with it.
I'm telling you, it's the same thing. It's just a different language. It's the exact same thing. So, oh my God, so much. I'm going
to tell you this. This is my idea. You could roll with it and get back to your stories in a second. This is a show for us called Medical Time Travel with Dr. Drew.
Yes.
In this show, I'm just riffing here. In this show, you go back in time to the most famous medical situations in history. Insulin, 1922.
Yeah.
You show up in costume. We have reenactors doing this. X-rays, 1895. Louis Pasteur, germ theory, 1860, Drew. Salt polio vaccine, 1952. You show up and we reenact these discoveries with your help. In other words, you're the muse that gives them the extra little thing that puts this thing into, and you explain the thing to the home
Is this a
audience.
pitch? Is this a pitch?
This is a pitch. This is a live
I'm going to
pitch.
argue that you need conflict. So I'm going to say, I'm going to go in there and go and start raising trouble.
Okay.
No. Don't put your hand in front of that tube. No, stop it. Stop
Absolutely.
doing that. You're going to screw your bones.
With Louis Pasteur, you're doing it in French.
And I'm going to, Mr. Salk, maybe they shouldn't be named after you. And oh, by the way, you're going to, that one version, it's not going to go so well. Don't be so hubristic. So
in the show, you get to explain the most famous scientific medical discoveries in human history.
Okay.
And we reenact them, and in costume, and in other words, with Louis Pasteur, you're actually in France speaking French in this episode, Drew.
Nice. I like that.
Anyway, think it over.
All right, I'm in.
All right, let's get back to the show. I just wanted to get that off my chest because I was thinking about it in a dream.
I think with the conflict, we're into something there.
I think we got something here. I mean,
the people who are assholes can be real assholes in this show.
Well, you know that. I mean, there are people. What was the French guy's name who claimed to have discovered AIDS and then wanted to patent it or something? He was the. Yeah,
I remember that was that going on. There was so many crazy stories back then.
Right. Well, we could do that in the show. That's an episode.
All
right. So you're working Loveline with Adam, right? Yeah. And this is now becoming a semi full-time job besides your regular full-time job as a doctor and your full-time job as a parent of triplets.
Yeah.
How do you find the time to do all this stuff? I don't understand. I could barely find the time to do
I would
the
get
show.
up at 5 a.m.
Right.
And I would come home at midnight.
I mean, did you work out at some point? Did you go to the gym?
I did. I tried to. There was a little gym at Los Encinas I would work out at. I would find a half hour here, 40 minutes there.
Did you and your wife ever go on vacation ever? Did you ever leave?
We did, but
where are your parents? Did your parents help at all?
My dad did.
Yeah.
My mom did not.
Wow.
But my dad was a really wonderful grandfather.
Wow.
My mother would come over and visit and play with the dog.
Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord. Mm-hmm. Where are your parents and your grandparents? Are they still alive in Chicago?
No, I never met my grandfather. Her parents, she kept away. So I never got to meet them at all.
Right. I understand that. I'm talking about your paternal grandparents.
He died in the early 50s.
Oh, wow.
And I remember, Fanya, who spoke Yiddish as her first language.
Of course.
And then I think Russian.
You called her Nana. Didn't you call her Nana?
I did not. I did not that I recall. My cousins called their grandmother Nana.
Yeah.
And I remember her.
Speaking
she was
Yiddish.
An old school Russian, like a
mine
Polish
too.
Russian lady.
I had the same thing. Had the same thing. Okay, so that's there. But this here in Altadena, or you're living in Glendale?
Glendale.
You're living in Glendale, and you've got these triplets. Now what?
We both looked at each other, and that's exactly what we said to each other. Now what? And it's like, we're just gonna work. We're just gonna go for it. We're gonna work our asses off. We're gonna live through this. And we went into full survival mode for about 5 years.
Right.
Like full survival mode.
Did your wife work, or she just stayed with them?
No, it was impossible. She did.
No, you can't.
She trained as a travel agent for a while, just so she had something to get away to.
Right.
But there's no.
Did she have a nanny or assistant?
Listen, we were always, at best, we were man to man, but we were never, 6 on 3.
Right.
We were normally 3 on 2.
Right.
And if I was out working all the time, we had to have a second person. It was really dangerous if it was just one person with 3.
Were they all 3 in the same crib? I mean, how did they
cribs? But we sort of had this one kind of room off the kitchen, and we would just put fences up and pads down, and boom. Like animals, keep them in there.
Did they have Pampers or regular diapers?
We had both.
Yeah, both.
And we ended up using the regular diapers mostly for cleanups and spills and things. We would go through hundreds of diapers a week.
Hundreds.
We had a garage filled with formulas.
Were there 3 high chairs that they sat in?
3 of everything.
3 of everything. And what about they had the 3 little pieces of clothing, and
3 of everything.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
crazy, super
Wow.
crazy.
It's super.
And
It's hard to imagine.
I was like, how do I afford this? And then I'd get them in college. How am I going to do this? It was the crazy.
Well,
Could
first of
not.
all, where did they go to high school or elementary school? Where
They
did they
went
go?
to Polytechnic. They got in
Together as a
early. Yeah,
group? They went together like
yeah,
children of the
yeah.
damned? They just
Mhm.
went together,
Yep.
holding hands every day?
Yes.
Oh, that's so
They
cute. That's
not
really
like
cute.
that, but they went to the same schools, and it'd be 2 in one class and 1 in the other every year. They'd switch
Was
off.
there any friction between the 3 of them? Did they
Yeah,
start
there
to
was
separate?
a lot of triangulation stuff that kind of
Yeah,
would always go on. Yeah.
right. So, okay, so were they ever in the same class together?
Well, it would be always 2 and 1, and they'd flip back. It'd be the special year when the one got to be alone. They'd trade off
On
every year.
purpose or by accident?
No, we would do. It was purposeful. It's like every
Yeah.
3 years you got every 3 years you got your own thing.
Oh, weird. Oh,
So
where'd you learn that? You read about that,
we
or
just did it. We
you just
were
did it?
busy. We really were intent on creating 3 individuals that we were very
Right.
interested in that.
Right. Very
So,
interesting. So, okay, so they go to high school together, and then you're going to have to pay for college. Where do they go?
and
One
high
kid goes
school.
to,
This is a private high school. I was
oh,
freaking
that's why I've
out.
never heard of it. That's why. Okay.
Freaking out. I mean, it
Right.
was like, how the hell? I didn't know that these media opportunities were going to come along. I didn't know what. I just was like more just work.
Right.
So
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay. So then one kid goes to Vanderbilt, as I
Yes.
recall in
Yes.
episode 5. Where do the other 2 go?
Paulina goes to Barnard, and then she
Oh,
goes
Barnard. Right.
and then
Right.
she went to Columbia Graduate School, and then Jordan went to Amherst, like me.
Jordan went to Amherst.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very interesting. And now they're
Mhm.
doing what you said they're doing.
Mhm.
Wow. That's some story.
He got a math degree there, which is no bullshit. That is a tough major.
And what? Now he has to work for Adam Sandler doing
He
his.
did that, and now he's getting a psychology degree.
Wow. So these are overachievers. This is genetic. I mean,
Yeah.
are they like you? I mean, are they
They're not
just
as bad as me. No,
no
not
one's as
me.
bad as you. I
Well,
don't know how.
the one son is getting there. But he's an attorney and he's managing tech influencers and building this crazy business. And he's busy. He's busy.
Right. Now
But,
you've
it's different
recently
now.
gotten into French history a lot from recent discussions with you, and you also went crazy learning French.
I
mean,
did. I had a
right.
bad COVID fog, and
Right.
we were going to go to Greece that summer, and so I learned some Greek, and it cleared my fog. And I thought after that, I came home and I was like, I'm going to get my French together finally, and it become kind of a hobby. Little did I know that the reason I could read and write French but couldn't speak it is it's 4 different languages they speak. It's crazy
Yeah.
what they do with the spoken word. But I'm getting pretty good at it, and I sort of. I listened to a lot of podcasts and lectures and stuff, and I backed into French history and got very, very intrigued by all that.
You love French history. I mean, we've talked about
I
the
do.
French Revolution. We've talked
I
about.
do. Well, I do mostly from the standpoint of 2 things: how the French shrouded in idealized language and idealized gloss of what actually happened. They just idealized the shit out of it, and the impact it had on the 20th century and our present moment as well.
Yeah, no, we've talked about that. Now, tell me about your health scare, because that with the prostate and everything. How did that was diagnosed by somehow your wife thought you were getting ill, and she forced you to get a physical against your will because you're the worst patient of any patient you've ever had as a doctor.
Yes, it's true. It's true. She's sending me a menu now because she knows you're going to keep me all night here.
No. We're getting out. Don't worry about it.
I had H1N1. Was it H5N1? Whatever that swine bird flu was. The swine. I forget which flu it was. We had a pandemic during the Obama administration.
Right.
And the one thing I kept saying was, we've had a previous pandemic, and you don't even know it happened.
Right.
And it was bad. It killed 300,000 people. I had it. It was H1N1, and I had it, and it was terrible. It was an awful illness. And do we have to go from you don't know it happened to closing down the fucking world? Isn't there somewhere in between we can go?
No.
That was my how I got in trouble. That's how I got canceled for saying that.
Right.
But I got H1N1. It was brutal. It was worse than COVID. It was brutal. And at the end of it, I got better. And Susan goes, oh, something's wrong. That was not normal. There's something wrong with
Yeah.
you. And I went, what? I had an infectious disease guy managing me. I kept calling him going, God, I am so toxic. I'm so sick. It's crazy. That's what this thing is. And at the end of it, she goes, you need to have a physical. I go, I've got a cardiologist. I've got a pulmonary. She goes, I'm making an appointment. This is how men come to doctors typically, is their lives draw them in.
Right.
I go, great guy went to Williams College. Don't hold it against him. He also went to Poly and stuff. And he's really a very, very, very skilled physician. And I listened to him. And PSA had gone from 1 to 4. Still normal. I was doing my own PSAs every year.
What's out of range for a PSA?
4. But I was
4,
still
yeah.
in range. I was still in range. I have to get above 4. I'm
Right.
like, right. He goes, hey, you got to go see a urologist. I'm like, come on, let's test it again in 6 months. I'm really like, it's like an addict bargaining. I was like, come on, we'll come back in 6 months. And he goes, no, I just think you should see a urologist. So I went, okay. I dutifully go see a urologist. Urologist goes, yeah, this is nothing. It's probably prostatitis. Here's Motrin and some antibiotics for 2 weeks, and then we'll retest it. Retest, doesn't go down. We'll do it again and retest it. Doesn't go down. He goes, well, now you need a biopsy. I'm like, God, you see, you're all just anxious because I'm a peer and it's me. And you could have just let me come back in 6 months like you did everybody else. But I'm a good patient and I'm letting doctors use their judgment. I get the biopsy, boom, prostate cancer. I couldn't believe it. I was 50. I always knew I'd get prostate cancer because my dad and my uncle had it in their 70s when you should get prostate cancer. I was like, God, 50, really? And, I know enough about prostate cancer to go slow. And so I did.
Well, does it go slow is the question.
Yeah, I was a Gleason 5, maybe 6. And I found a doctor who was doing active surveillance. He's with the Prostate Cancer Foundation. So I was getting biopsied every 6 months. Wow. Started to grow. He goes, well, that's it. We got to do this. I went, well, now I'm ready. I wasn't ready before. I really wasn't ready. So I was on active surveillance for a couple of years, do the prostatectomy, and that's that. And that was 10 years ago. 3 years ago, my PSA started to climb up again. So we did some radiation, goes back down to 0. And so we're sort of a little bit of whack-a-mole on it, but that's it.
Well, you're lucky to be alive. I mean, if your wife didn't send you against your will as a hostage.
Probably, as you see, it wouldn't have made that much difference because I went on active surveillance anyway, and I waited a couple years before I did anything.
Right.
But, I mean, it was a great case in point of letting doctors use their judgment.
Right.
And listening to your doctors.
Well, also not being your own doctor.
Correct. And both my internist and my urologist were just like, I got a hunch we got to go a little further with this. It's like, I'm like, your judgment's off because it's me. I'm like, no, I'm just using my judgment, which is true. And they had great judgment. And it's why you go to a doctor for judgment, not just fund of knowledge.
I just call you. I just turn it over.
Yes, you do. Yes,
I just send you. Yes,
you do.
I just send you my
reviewing Mark Rubert's labs.
My whole life is sending you my labs. That's the most exciting part of my life. Yeah. Well, listen, I know this is too much for you to keep going, but
it was pretty good. It was pretty much of a survey. I mean, there's always more, and there's always more detail.
There's always more. I just want to know about the voice or the thing with the fish, with the bird on your head. What was that? Where you're singing, the singing with a bird on your head?
No, I think you're conflating two things.
What?
So there's a point at which I'm on Tom Green's show singing to his parrot. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I don't know. Take a look at this photo. You tell me. I don't know what's going on in this photo. What is this?
Kid?
No, what is this?
Wait, I can't make sense of it. What am I looking at? Why can't I make sense?
There's a picture of you dressed as a bird with a beak with a yellow.
I'm the eagle. It's the Masked Singer.
The Masked Singer. I'm sorry to insult you. What goes on the Masked Singer? You come out in a costume and sing, and they try to guess who you are.
Dude, you are really not out of it. You were really out of it.
I have no idea what's going on.
Rated show on Fox.
I have never seen it.
Season 5 now. I was season 2.
Oh, here you are. Hey, look, you got wings and shit.
Yeah. It was a great costume. I didn't
Were you
last too
on
long.
Dancing with the Stars also,
I
or?
was not. They sniffed around a few times. I have managed to avoid that so far.
Okay,
So
that's a show you should really get on. But this,
no,
well,
no. I'm a singer. Should be on the
yeah,
Masked Damn Singer. And
right,
I just interviewed Jenny McCarthy last week, and she is a judge on the Masked Singer. And we've been friends since the 90s when she was doing Singled Out, the show that
right,
preceded Loveline. And we, and one of the reasons I did Masked Singer was to screw with them, Kenny and Ken Jeong and Jenny, both friends of mine.
right. Well, we've had an interesting discussion. As I said, we could have gone on for 3 more hours. Let's see what these people are saying here. Thank you, Dr. Drew, for sharing what you know. On that note, what question do you wish you had been asked but wasn't? Continue to answer that question.
Like in Loveline or something? Is that what they're talking about?
On this episode, maybe. I'm not sure.
You know what I get mad about that people never do is they never ask about your training. You know what I mean?
Well, you and I have talked about that because you mentioned how there was no training for your peers in addictionology.
Oh, that's for sure. But
Yeah.
I mean, people don't understand science training and medical training and what what board certifications mean. And so please give me this opportunity to tout my training.
Let me ask you then, straight up, what does it take to be a board certified addictionologist?
I had world-class biology training at Amherst College. I was trained formally in old school science techniques. And so the scientific method is something I am well schooled in, and it is woefully represented in today's world. It is under attack. It has been distorted. It's a delicate instrument, as Brett Weinstein told me, that has been adulterated. So, and I see it because I was trained carefully in the scientific method. I had excellent training in medical school in a program that excels in clinical situations. I jumped in with both feet because I was such a workaholic already then. I saw and did everything. Then I had an excellent internal medicine training. I did a chief residency. I became board certified in internal medicine. All along, I was working at the psychiatric hospital and then took over the addiction services and then got trained in addiction medicine. I got board certified in addiction medicine. I'm a fellow at the American College of Physicians. I'm a fellow at the American Board of Addiction Medicine. So these are all things I'm very, very proud of.
Do they discuss
a lot of work to get to do
in the addiction medicine training? Do they discuss the 12-step programs?
Yes,
and but how deep do they go?
As deep as you want to go. Let's put it that way. I think most of it is doctor and psychiatric based, which is really our job, to be fair. But they do emphasize. Thank you to Dr. Humphreys and Dr.
Humphreys,
Keith Humphreys.
Keith Humphreys,
and there's a guy at Harvard whose name I'm blanking on, who's even more significant, who's done the Cochrane analysis that showed
the Cochrane analysis report is well worth reading for anybody who's interested in Humphreys' breakdown of 12-step programs and its influence on addiction.
Well, and that he shows quite clearly that 12-step does as much as any professionally managed services, especially when abstinence is your goal, and it's free and it's available 24/7. So for
many therapists do not want to talk about it, Drew, because they lose their patients.
That's a mistake because there's still room for CBT, there's still room for trauma therapies, and full recovery often requires psychotherapeutic services.
What about, I asked you this once before, what's your take on, my colleagues, there's some involvement in the crack epidemic in the South Bronx. I don't know if you would know about that at all, but what is your take? We talked about this once before on EMDR.
I think it's wonderful. I think the trauma I had trauma treatment. It took years and years and years for me to get the integrated sort of mechanisms in place that I needed. Now we have ways to fast track that, and EMDR is one of them.
So you're an advocate of EMDR.
Huge. Trauma informed care is massively important, and now when you do it is an art form.
Yeah, it seems to be an art form.
People should not be doing it in the first 6 months of sobriety. That's for sure.
Now, you believe that nothing should be done in the first 6 months of sobriety that would trigger trauma by digging into your trauma in early sobriety, Drew. Am I wrong?
Anything that would get you to run out and use again is not helpful.
And that being bringing up early childhood trauma in the first 6 months of recovery.
To bring it up is one thing, but to dig into it is a mistake.
Right, because you're playing with fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Mark, what is Dr. Drew's view on AI moving into mainstream medical practice? I don't know. Exactly what.
I'm all for it. I'm going to talk to somebody this week about some maybe mental health sort of AI sort of ideas. I think it will have utility. I worry that it's replacing physician judgment and that physicians aren't developing their judgment the way they need to because they keep looking everything up as opposed to learning and thinking and developing that instinct that we have as doctors. Just the way my prostate cancer was diagnosed was an instinctive thing in my caretakers. AI would have said, wait 6 months and get retested.
So you don't trust Dr. Grok. You think that Dr. Epstein or Dr. Goldberg or Dr. Feinstein would be better than Dr.
I look
Grok.
things up like everybody else, but to have that as the sole decision-making is a giant mistake.
Right. Wow. Wow. How do you feel towards the World Health Organization? Do you see any progress? Horrible organization, right? Thanks,
Horrible.
Alicia. Thank you.
They brought us hepatitis B vaccine in 1 day old. Why?
Right.
Why are you doing that?
I remember you telling me this story about not being given the COVID vaccine when you were at Huntington Hospital helping out.
Oh, yeah.
And they said because you were a white male, you were last on the list and you were making rounds, Drew, right?
I was not rounding at the hospital, but I was treating COVID as an outpatient setting.
Right.
And they finally went, oh, you're treating COVID. Oh, well, we'll let you know. Then the answer was no. We have to get the gardeners. We have to get the employees of the hospital, the people that have come from at-risk populations.
Well, you weren't outraged because of self-preservation. You were outraged at the political angle to the thing, as I recall.
And then it later bled into who got the monoclonal antibodies, which was just the weirdest thing. It was so odd to me that we were doing that. I'm not used to making medical decisions that way. Wow. And then, of course, I got COVID running around trying to get the vaccine, and I got bad COVID. I had a bad case.
Yeah. Woo. Well, what's this here, Dr. Drew?
Well, the World Health Organization is a catastrophe. Anything centralized is a catastrophe. Decentralized is how medicine should be practiced. The doctor and the patient is your best unit. And unfortunately, it's been so adulterated by regulatory agencies and insurance companies that I think it maybe ought to go directly to the patient now.
Is it about, the last survey I saw, it's about 50-50 private physicians versus corporate physicians, the split in the country.
What is it?
50-50.
No, I hear it's 70 employees now. 70% employees.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, which makes sense why they froze during COVID. They were just waiting for directions from on high.
That's what I was getting at with that statement. Yeah. Right.
Terrible.
Interesting. They did freeze, didn't they? They did freeze.
Yes. And they were told, stand down by their bosses, and they did. And they essentially told patients to come back when they were blue. I was shocked at the behavior. Yes. Yes, come back when your PO2 is 82. Otherwise, get out of here.
Wow.
Yeah, it was terrible. Wow. They didn't treat their patients. It was really, really a dark chapter.
So do you still have any symptoms of long COVID, or are you I'm clear of it? When you say long COVID, are they cognitive things?
Well, it was fogginess and fatigue.
Like a fog.
It was bad. But the fogginess I do not have. I do not have the fatigue. I have lots of stamina and vitality. I still have ringing in my right ear. I woke up on day 2 with the most incredible buzzing in my ear. It was crazy. And I still have some hearing loss on that side. And now I've got a little bit on this side. It's driving me crazy.
Right. It's hard to discern if it's just aging or COVID related.
100%.
Right.
I looked at COVID like a head injury, like getting hit on the head, like a concussion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yes, it adds to the aging process for sure.
Well, Susan, thank you for letting us have Dr. Drew today for so long. I know there's plenty of things you could be and would rather be doing with him. So I am going to let him go. Back to you, Susan. And we conspired together. She's well aware that Mercury's in retrograde, your wife, and I know you think it's a joke. But Susan and I believe in Mercury in retrograde. And somehow we technically got through the show without any computer hitches.
That's true.
Somehow Mercury in retrograde receded just in time for us to do the show. Anyway, Drew, thank you for coming by.
I always love
talking to you.
Talking to you too. That's why I didn't squirm my way out of this. at hour 2.
Yeah, no, we could talk. We'll talk more on the phone separately. Thank you, Dr. Drew from
Thank you to your
Dog
viewers.
Nose
We
2.
appreciate it very much. And hey, I got to promote Susan's show. Susan produces a streaming show that I do called Ask Dr. Drew on Rumble and YouTube and X, mostly using X these days. Follow me on X. It's at DrDRW.
Yeah.
And it's called Ask Dr. Drew. And it's usually 2 o'clock, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday Pacific time. And we get great guests. I mean, RFK Jr. and Jay Bhattacharya, and you name the guys, we interview them at one time or another. Today was Benny Johnson. It was Jack Posobiec yesterday. Your audience will love these guys. So please show up.
Wow, it's right in the wheelhouse. Now this channel here is non-political, so we're trying to just do like art and and just stuff that's family friendly on this channel. But on the other channel, which will be Friday, America's Untold Stories, which Eric and I do, we have guests on there occasionally and talk about the news and things of that nature. So that'll be on Friday. But Drew, thank you. Thanks to Susan. Susan, thank you for the incredible photos.
Marxist, thank you.
Thank you for the photos. I'll talk to you about time travel, medical time travel with Dr. Drew.
Also, to your point about time travel, I now do, whenever I do public lecturing, I present myself as a time traveler because I tell them, I go, look, I've come through history. I come from a different era. And I've seen things. I've seen these same ideas you think are so good. I've seen them. I've seen them come and go and come and go, and they're bad. And I've seen them. And let me tell you about all of them, whether it's overprescribing of opiates or underprescribing of opiates or locking everything down, or I've seen it all. So
in one episode, you're going to go back to the assassination of Garfield and try to treat him with the other physicians, Drew.
Oh, man. Let me do Teddy Roosevelt, too.
You'll do Teddy Roosevelt. That'll be a bonus episode, Drew.
Fair enough.
Thank you. Drew, thank you so much.
Right,
Dr. Drew Pinsky, everybody. Give him a round of applause. Dr. Drew Pinsky for coming by. Thank you, my friend. We'll talk later. Thank you.
Care. Bye-bye.
Oh, that's exciting.